Take one. Hey, everybody. On this show, we talked about some wintertime fun in Chicago, some high school shenanigans, did a little bit of a teaser on an upcoming Fatima special that we want to do, The Secrets of Fatima. You want to hear about those. And we continued, and I think finally put in the vault, the great debate on how to end racism in America. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Manhire Show. I'm Dad.
Jack.
I'm Will.
And Mike.
And Hannah on the board. Welcome back, Hannah.
Ooh.
It's good to have you back.
It is good to have you back.
So, do you guys have a couple things? Or,
Yeah. Can I start off the Russian thing?
Go ahead, yeah.
Good.
So, this is pretty crazy. So, tensions are increasing in Russia, between Russia and America right now. And a couple things have happened in the last couple of weeks that are pretty concerning. One, this comes from the New York Times, by the way. One, a Russian fighter jets repeatedly veered 100 feet from a U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber over the Black Sea. And then another one, 6 Russian warplanes flew close enough to Alaska that the Air Force F-22s scrambled to intercept them. And then the third one, and this one's probably the craziest in my opinion. 7 U.S. soldiers were injured when a Russian armored vehicle deliberately rammed an American patrol in North Syria.
What?
Yeah. No wild?
Oh, wow.
No wild.
Okay, so you got American...
That article came out today. I don't know when.
So you got American plane caught in or close to Russia space. You got Russian plane in or close to American space in Alaska.
Is the Black Sea close to Russia? I don't know where it is.
So the southern part of Russia, where oh gosh, what's it called? Sorry, I'm blanking. The Crimea is down on top of the Black Sea, I believe. So
Turkey looks like it's right under the Black Sea.
It's underneath it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because the Black Sea, it's like Russia, Georgia, Turkey, and the Ukraine, and then Romania and Bulgaria on the left side of the Black Sea, yeah.
So when the USSR used to control all of it, it was for sure. It may have broken up into...
There's still part of it that touches Russia.
Yeah, I think the Crimea is down to that part. It's okay, so yeah, U.S. plane close to Russia space... Russia plane close to America space, but then actual, I don't know, would you call it a troops in contact? It's not traditional, but I mean, troops
killed 7
I just imagine,
people,
right?
Or
injured.
What?
No one died. No one died. 7 injured.
But 7 injuries.
Yeah.
With I would guess the intent to kill.
Yeah,
I mean, right?
I don't know if these guys were on foot. It just says,
we're just gonna run some soldiers over.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how that politically works.
I don't know.
Far as like
Trump's not doing anything about it, and that's what the whole article. The primary purpose of the article is to say how Trump's not doing anything, and this is a real big problem because Russia's like obviously making aggressive moves against America.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially the ramming.
Yeah,
the ramming part is absolutely crazy, and it was in Syria. So I don't know international law well enough to know what that would constitute. It's certainly on a third party soil type of thing, so it isn't necessarily, prima facie act of war. Although you are, engaging with American troops, doesn't mean you're necessarily isn't an act of war, but it's an act of aggression.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
and they're not civilians. These are professional soldiers, right? These are the soldiers of both countries that are engaged in a physical altercation. Wow. So we don't know when that happened.
No, I'm pretty sure it happened pretty recently, but I'm not sure.
So what are we doing in Syria? What are they doing in Syria? Do we know?
I'm sure somebody knows. I don't know.
That's okay.
I know Russia's been trying to do stuff in Syria or has been doing stuff in Syria for a while, but
Wow. So what are you most concerned about with that?
Well, I think it just kind of ties into hold on a minute. Yeah, this has all happened in the last few months, it says. So I think it just ties into our whole argument about it seems like what the article's titled Russian and American tensions or tensions between Russia and America are really increasing.
Right. And why? Historically we're either sworn enemies or we have ideologies that we are coming out and saying, the Soviets would call us, imperialist pigs. We would call them commie bastards. We would call each other names and say, we have opposing ideologies, and the United States was sworn to, fight communism wherever it found it, and the communism was set up to destroy all type of capitalist systems because those were going to hurt the people, and stuff like that. But I don't know if anybody's had rhetoric like that since 1960. So
I mean, other than Call of Duty, we don't really see any anti-Russia propaganda. Back in the day, it was like we got to kill the Russians and communism, but now it's just kind of like, other than them being an enemy in every video game and movie.
I am surprised though they are an enemy in every video game.
Well, I think it's just because of our history, Yeah. And we don't really want to make it China because China might actually do something.
It's a safe.
Yeah, it's like the Russians.
What's the worst they're going to do? Ram it.
We're probably in their video games.
Ram an armored vehicle in Syria. I mean, please, that's the worst. But under the Cold War, they were our enemy, and but I mean, I don't think of them. I mean, I grew up with them as our enemy. I don't even think of Russia as a military enemy anymore. You guys grew up outside of the Cold War.
Yeah. I just think of them as crazy America. Like if America was on bath salts, it'd be Russia.
Right. That's how we would. Capitalism unleashed type of thing.
Just a bunch of really rich oligarchs just doing whatever they want.
No moral bounds or moors or moorings even. Yeah.
Probably just a lot of black market deals.
Right.
A lot of people
drinking
a lot of vodka. Yeah.
A lot of fighting.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like Sicily, but the food's not as good.
Exactly.
Right?
Just a lot of horse and mule.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's angry all the time just for no reason.
Yeah, it's so too cold, man.
Yeah.
Warm up.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the Middle East is always angry because it's so hot. And Russia's just always cold.
Yeah. It's like Chicago in the winter all the time.
Exactly.
Oh, it is. I tell you,
your life.
You've heard my story before, but I mean, anybody from Chicago that's worked in downtown Chicago, this. I used to get on the L, take the L into downtown Chicago into the Loop, and then I'd get off the L. The L is the subway, basically. Get off the L, and I'd walk not too far, maybe 4 or 5 blocks from the L to my office. And in the dead of the winter, when it was minus 20 wind chill, it would be so cold, and the wind would be blowing so hard because you're in between the buildings that it would make you tear up, and then the tears would kind of come and be pushed out of the sides of your eyes because of the wind, but it was so cold that it would just freeze on the side of your face.
Oh, wow.
And so you'd have these kind of like salt residues from your tears which are salty on the side of your face by the time you got to work. And you never went to work in fully dressed for work.
Yeah.
You had your suit on, and you had your snow boots and your hat and your scarf, and so you got to work, and then you had to spend like 15 minutes taking your snow boots on, taking your shoes out of your bag, putting your regular shoes on. And
that's how it was at elementary school back when we were in we'd show up in snow pants and boots and winter gloves and jackets, and then be like 10 minutes of just getting out of all your gear, and then doing school, and then recess you'd have to put it all back on, because in Chicago we still got to go outside for recess, even though it was super cold, but only if you had like the proper gear.
Right.
We had to stay inside and stay in the gym.
But it was still outside recess.
Yeah.
Right?
But just get your snow boots on and get your snow pants on.
Yeah.
Make sure you're all warm.
They couldn't afford to cancel school because of how many days.
Oh yeah. We had citywide snow plows. I mean, it'd be like 6 feet of snow. Because I remember when we first moved there, it snowed like 6 feet, and Mom was like, "Oh, there's no way school's gonna happen, so I'm just gonna not wake the kids up." And she's the school bus go by our house. She's like, "Oh crap, they do school when it's this bad here."
Isn't there a snowplow in front of the school bus?
Yeah, sometimes they have those. Yeah, well, they have the snowplow goes through, but then they have that on the front of the school bus. Yeah, to
Oh yeah,
mitigate it.
They don't play in Chicago because
Not
as soon
at
as the
all.
first flake hits the asphalt, the army of plows and salt trucks are out.
Yep.
They're standing by. They're ready.
It's kind of cool because like at night you can kind of see their lights off in the distance. And it's like the orange
They are.
lights. Yeah.
It's actually amazing.
Yeah.
It's actually really, really impressive. But for that reason, you're right. I remember the incident you're talking about. It started snowing the night before we went to bed, woke up, and the plows and the drifts were about halfway up the telephone poles. It was really high.
Yeah.
There was nowhere for you to stand and wait for the bus on the sidewalk because all the drifts. But bus came and took you to school. In fact, I think that was the year there was so much snow, but there was not one snow day. You didn't miss school once that year.
But I do remember we wouldn't get snow days, we'd have cold days. So when it was like
that's right.
Yeah, so when it was so dangerous, when it was like negative 30 plus, when it was so dangerous that if you were outside for more than like 2 minutes that you'd get hypothermia or frostbite.
Kids.
Like they'd have to cancel school because just the amount of time you'd have to be outside waiting for the bus, you might lose an ear. So they'd have to cancel school. When it was
I do remember coming back from the L because I would walk. My walk from the L home was actually longer than my walk from the L to work. I don't know if you remember it, but I'd have to go like over the tracks and across the busy road, then across the Dominic's parking lot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it would take me 15, 20 minutes. And one time I got home and it was dark already and my nose was so numb because everything else was kind of covered up. I was good, but I really was worried that I might lose my nose.
Wow.
Like it was like an hour later. I was not feeling my nose still.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The funny part about the cold days are, they would be crazy. You wouldn't go to school, and then you'd go up to the sled hill.
Yeah, exactly. Which was right behind
by the school.
Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy. I remember I almost knocked a kid out, but I don't know if you guys remember this.
No, I remember getting run over and running people over.
Yeah,
on our sleds.
it would just happen because this one kid. Because people would be on this big hill behind the school, and people would like build ramps like on the snow hill.
Oh, right.
And I remember this one kid. He was like building the ramp, and I was going down the hill. I'm like, oh, a ramp. I'm gonna go off that, but I didn't know there was a kid there because he was behind the ramp,
right?
Like supporting it or whatever. So I'm zooming, and he pops up right when I'm about to go off the ramp and just smack him in the head.
That's hilarious.
Sorry, I'll turn my ringer off. Yeah, I just smack him in the head, and I remember people dragging him away, but I don't.
Oh my god!
Really? I don't think his friends were like, "Oh no!" I don't think he died, but I think I remember correctly, I knocked him out cold. Yeah,
I remember a stretcher.
But what some people used to do, at least I remember hearing about this, is they'd put water out on the hill the night before.
Yeah.
To make it like super icy so that you just fly down the hill.
It was
a pretty big hill.
We used to do trains, just connect all of our sleds and go down together.
Yeah, go down together.
And then if we whip out,
you didn't go
whip out and like smack out a whole line of people because you're going down.
Yeah, because some people were stupid enough to walk up the side of the hill.
Go walk up the hill.
Yeah, because what you're supposed to do is
the stairs next to
there's
it.
stairs on the other side
which is fenced off from the actual hill.
So there's no way you can get run over. But those stairs were annoying to walk up of.
That's true.
So people would just walk up the side of the hill, which dude, that's a bad idea because it's basically like a big funnel.
Yep.
And there's fences on both sides.
Flare out at the bottom.
Exactly. So you have to go around the fence and up the stairs on the side to get back up to the top. But they were kind of windy, and you had to go a little. It was probably an extra 2 minutes. It wasn't that bad. But some people would just be impatient.
You got to drag your sled and stuff.
They would just, and you'd have to carry your sled up the stairs because there's stairs. So people would just drag them behind them and walk up the hill. But yeah, you definitely can get hit pretty hard.
Yeah, and you guys had the those snow tubes.
Yeah,
the tubes that were designed for snow. It had the cover on it.
That was back in Connecticut, I think. I don't think we had those there.
Oh, okay. We got them in Connecticut. I don't know if we still had them.
I don't think we had them then.
In Chicago, we said the plastic dishes.
Yeah. Yeah. So luckily, I was on that and not one of those metal, like the flyers.
Like the
I think you would
Christmas vacation.
Yeah, because he would have actually probably died. Yeah.
No, it was a whole art and science. You do the water ahead of time.
Yeah.
You get it ultra slick, and it was. And yet somehow everybody seemed to live.
Yeah, at least you didn't hear about a lot of concussions.
You did.
But it was also the early 2000s, so I don't know how many were like, yeah.
Right.
Tis the season.
Yeah.
Well, but I remember also I know people also did this, but I know my friend Teddy Weichel, probably goes by Ted now, but he in his backyard they would take I think trash bags or tarps or something, and they build ice rinks in their backyard,
right?
Because they basically build like a like a giant oval, and then overnight they pour water in, and overnight it just freeze completely solid, and then they'd go ice skating on in their backyard.
Like a couple inches.
Yeah.
Could you put little things over it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened at was it Kalina or something? There was that baseball field and there's that football field right there.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, they did do the ice.
Yeah.
They did have an ice rink there.
They would turn that field into an ice rink the same way. And
you're
people
right.
just skate around on it.
It would.
Winter, yeah.
That's where you
forgot
had,
about
football
Field.
practice and stuff in the fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they turned it. Yes, and they just naturally turned it into an ice rink in the winter.
Right. And the town we lived in was 2 miles square, so I mean it was really it was really small.
I was little when we were there.
Yeah, but they would do some amazing things, and they had a lot of resources. That was fun. Park Ridge.
Yeah,
Park Ridge was cool.
Yeah.
It's oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his name? Harrison Ford went to high school there. And so
Hillary
did
Clinton.
So did Hillary
Hillary
Clinton, but
Yep.
we're not going to talk about that one.
That's right.
Less important.
That's right. There was a picture of her eating at the Pickwick Diner. Remember by the
Oh, was there really?
By the theater.
I remember what you were talking about. I don't know the picture.
Yeah, and her parents were big, local folks, well-known local folks, heavily involved in the Republican Party.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That is pretty funny.
It's funny because it's a pretty liberal town.
I think it was wealthy, and I think politically it was liberal.
I just remembered that like some of our friends' parents were like, "You let your kids have airsoft guns?"
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They would.
I can't believe you would do that.
Oh yeah.
You're teaching them to be school shooters.
Oh, I know. They were there, and they even said stuff that wasn't really funny, but was kind of shocking because some of you had expressed an interest at that age, like maybe
join the military.
Yeah. And they looked at mom when she told them at book club or something like that, and they felt like they had to take her aside and reschool her to say, "Listen, I'm not against the military or anything like that, but I can't believe that you'd push your kid into that." And in other words, yes, the military is fine for other kids to serve,
exactly,
but not
our kids.
my kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not our kids. That's not how it works here. So they didn't actually say that, but that was kind of the message.
Yeah.
That was kind of
that's
the
also kind of how Park Ridge was very white.
Well, it was also there was a huge. Do you remember there was a huge campaign? You might not remember this. There was a huge campaign to keep homeless people out of Park Ridge by making sure the Catholic Church shut down its program for food, because they wanted to offer food for anybody, especially in the cold months, that needed food, needed a place. This goes way back in Catholic charity, to be able to do this at St. Paul's up in
I remember that.
St. Paul. It was the one. It was the one in more downtown.
The one where we didn't have time to go to St. John Canchis.
We'd go there.
We didn't want to.
We didn't go to Shiny Happy People.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't want to flex on our morals or bend on our morals.
It was a shame because the church, literally a block away from where we lived, that we could walk to, sang "Shiny Happy People" by REM as the entrance hymn to Mass one time. And I remember we walked out. I got up and we just left.
Yeah.
We just left. But St. Paul's was more in the downtown part of Park Ridge, and they wanted to have in the basement. Mm-hmm. And if somebody needed food, come and get food.
Yeah.
And there was a multi-month outcry by the residents saying, you're going to turn our town into a dump, and the property values are going to go down, and our kids are going to be dead. It was absolutely terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And very, very few people had a counter kind of protest to that. I mean, that was maybe 2008, 2009, and we're a decade after that.
Yeah.
And with everything that's happening lately, I have a hard time imagining that happening. Although, that was a little bubble, and they wanted to keep their bubble separate. So
these people were crazy, though. By the way, one of the biggest problems in the town was something called skittling, where kids would steal their parents' medication, put it all into a bowl, and then at parties they just grab handfuls and just see what happened.
You weren't sure what it was. It was just a bunch of different colors.
Just different colors. Right? Yep. Yeah.
I have a feeling that wasn't just Park Ridge. I have a feeling that's it became a national thing.
Probably.
What do you want to call it? The 2010s?
Yeah. Definitely Northern Virginia had that too.
Really?
With the Arlington and stuff, and the rich part of it.
Langley High School.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What's that?
Colonial Forge?
No, but way higher. I can't remember the names of them. But.
So Langley High School in Northern Virginia was the one that I had all the cocaine problems when I was going to high school at Herndon.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we were living in Chicago, and then I was practicing there, and then I got a job with the IRS, and then I got a promotion and transferred to DC. So we lived in Northern Virginia, in a different part of Northern Virginia.
The Fredericksburg
area. But Langley High School was still, I think, known as the very, very rich high school up in Great Falls and McLean area.
Oh yeah, Great Falls.
By Langley CIA headquarters, Langley. Yeah.
I do remember even in Stafford, which is like right next to Fredericksburg.
Mm-hmm.
Their Colonial Forge was known as like, that's where all the rich cokeheads go that wears Sperry's.
Yeah,
wore Sperry's.
Yeah. Well, we wore Sperry's too.
Well, I know, but that was like the joke.
No, it's rich cokeheads that were Sperry's.
It was like
you didn't have all three.
Yeah.
And they were like the lacrosse.
Yeah. Forge.
And the
Forge,
North was
right.
like the not.
Everyone thought we were a prison.
Well, yes, but South Stafford was like the prison that actually was a
Stafford
prison.
High School?
Yeah, Stafford High School.
See, that's what people said about North Stafford before. When we first moved there, I was in 8th grade, and I didn't know what anything was. Everyone that was at St. William of York said they were going. If you go to North Stafford, you go into prison. They told me it was an outline of the prison.
Oh wow.
So was Stafford an actual prison?
Well, dude, they didn't have windows. It looked like a bunker. Do you remember that they renovate the whole building?
I never went to Stafford.
That was the first high school in the Stafford area, and then when we were there were 5 high schools in the same area.
And then Brook Point was most likely to get stabbed at. And then Mountain View was just a bunch of kids that smoked cigarettes at lunch and wore camo.
Right.
Rode their 4-wheelers to school.
They had handkerchiefs in their back pocket of their jeans.
Talk about racists. Yeah.
And Forge was the rich kids, right?
Yeah, Forge was rich kids.
Right.
Yeah.
But the racism thing was a joke. Because that's actually where I knew a lot of kids that had Confederate flags that weren't racist, that were just like, man, I just like the Confederate flag. Yeah. But everybody wore camo there.
That's not even an exaggeration. City.
That was.
It was a very diverse city. Yeah.
Because that was out 5 within a pretty close proximity.
Stafford's not huge.
No, it's not. It's not. And then Mountain View.
Yeah, Mountain View. Yeah.
Mountain View was well named too. That was it was
yeah, it really was. It really was. They're in the news. If you ever a couple years ago,
Banana Man.
Well, there was that, but that happened at Colonial Forge, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Mountain View got in the news because on one of their spirit days, or the end of the year, I think it was their final pep rally is what it was. On the back of these 2 girls, and this is national news. 2 girls on the back of their shirts wrote, basically the N-word, we made it, and spelled it with 16 in the middle, and like instead of IG.
Yeah.
And
hard R or no hard R?
I know hard R. No. But yeah, and they don't know why I thought that was a good idea. But 2 of them did it, and I remember seeing it on the news while being in Texas and being like, wait, is that Mountain View? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Mountain View.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Nathan Reyes, I went there, so I texted him about it. He's like, yeah, dude, I know those girls. They got expelled. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a really big problem.
So did they get to graduate?
I don't know.
So
probably not.
They didn't make it.
No,
they didn't make it.
No, they didn't make
Final.
it. Yeah, 2 like really, really white girls that were just wearing. Yeah.
Oh man,
I saved it a while ago.
Poor judgment.
Yeah.
Poor judgment.
Really poor judgment. I can't believe they thought that would fly. Like, you know what? I think it's a good enough.
Yeah.
I think it's tasteful.
Speaking of flying, that happened something similar when I went to high school my senior year. I won't say his name, but he was accepted into the U.S. Air Force Academy, and it's hard to get into a U.S. military academy. It is, and he actually had a commercial pilot's license. So there were actually 2 kids in my school that had a commercial pilot's license
in high school.
In high school,
wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was actually, it wasn't common. It just happened to be 2 of them out of class of 500.
That's really cool.
So we had this final end of year festival, in the football field, where they, around the track and everything. And they decided to take off in their cars, go to the airfield, get their planes, and basically buzz the event.
Oh no!
Yeah, and they buzzed it. There's wires and everything. No cry, nothing.
Okay.
No, actually, no.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was actually pretty funny.
Do a flyby.
I mean, these guys did a flyby right over, and they're in prop planes, but they're right over and buzzed the whole thing. And dang
it, Maverick!
I want some butts. But he almost there was an issue. The Air Force Academy was considering not letting him in because of that final stunt. You know,
how they know who it was? Did he come out and say, "I'm going to go do this, guys. I'll be back. Hold my beer."
They did.
Wow,
they did, and they said it in front of somebody who then was asked later what their names were, and he said it.
Oh yeah, Timmy.
Yeah, and they didn't
legends.
Yeah, and they really didn't like me for a while after that.
Are you serious? Are you joking?
Serious.
No,
dead serious. Yeah, no, it was a problem. It was a problem on multiple. It was a problem on multiple fronts.
That's funny.
My car was urinated on a few times.
Oh man.
So we got the new podcast studio.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody. Everybody has video can see. If you look at episode 6, we threw a camera in here and hoped for the best. And since then, just 3 days ago?
Yeah.
Sunday. So
yeah, we'll kick this all out. And I don't know if we want to play with the positioning of the camera at all and do a little.
Yeah, we can if you want to.
If you want to, yeah.
I channeled my inner Hannah.
Yeah, he was. So he was coming in here, Hannah, and saying,
"What would Hannah do?"
He did. What would Hannah do? And like, I think Hannah would like this.
Yeah.
I think Hannah would like it this way. And then,
Hannah made no adjustment. She said it's perfect.
I know you sent pictures and you said,
I did it correctly.
Hannah likes it. Hannah likes it. So we have, if you can go way up top here, you got the Star Trek shelf, which are just a few of my Star Trek things that I've collected over the years, just a couple. Then we have at the Texas shelf, the second one down. You got some Texas books, some Texas props. This looks like theoretical physics shelf.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Kind of. And there's some books over there that are like that too. So
yeah,
but Tesla and Einstein.
We just have a lot of physics books.
Yeah, we do have a lot of physics books. We've got encyclopedias on both sides, law books, religious shelf. And then stuff we want to hide with this, with this. This is the family crest. I'm not sure if you can get that.
Yeah, can you zoom in on it a little bit, Hannah? Zoom in on top.
Yeah,
yeah, it's the Blum and Manhire.
The family crest of my family, the Manhire family, with the red one on your left, and then the Blum family, which is Mom's maiden name, on the right. I used to think it was funny because I'm the oldest of 3 kids, and we had 3 hunting horns on there. And then when I found Mom's crest, I'm like, oh, are there 8 flowers? That would be funny because she's one of 8 kids, but they're 9. They're 9.
Close.
So, yeah, almost. So I like the studio a lot.
I do too.
Yeah,
looks good.
Good job, and it feels less like a closet now.
Yeah, it does. It's a lot less like a closet.
Right?
Yeah,
that's well done.
Thank you.
So I heard a story too about from Australia. I don't know if you guys picked up on this one. There's a woman. I think this is in the Victoria area, and Mike's having some stand problems. Yeah.
Oh yeah, your actual pad's sliding off.
Yeah.
Under the arm.
Oh, the slide's coming off. Yeah. This is when we realized, oh, that's why they were 1/10 of the price now.
Oh, yeah. Should I mute Mike or anything?
Yeah.
There you go.
And
you might want to pull that pad off.
Yeah.
It just keeps on sliding.
I know, but
go ahead, and
the glue is.
I'll edit. I'll do a fade on this, or I won't, and I'll just keep it, and everybody can see how it really works when you do a home podcast in your closet.
Yeah,
that's right.
Should call this the in the closet.
Yeah,
podcast.
And you just throw all your money. You
might have got the wrong.
Use your personal funds. That's right. It might get the wrong idea.
Yeah, 4 white men in the closet.
Right.
Or we would have gotten a lot of views.
Or they would have been surprised by the content. Like, when are they going to get to the content that I was hoping for?
Exactly.
That's right.
That actually funny.
Mike's all set.
Oh, good. Me and Mike were watching I don't know if you've ever seen Arrested Development. The show's pretty hilarious.
I know of it. I've seen a few episodes, but I don't know it enough to know any of the character names or the threads of the stories or anything. But
you don't really
Bateman's hilarious.
Yeah,
I love
that show's
Bateman.
really fun. And Tobias, what's that actor? He's out in the Chipmunks, bald dude. He's a comedian. Paul is kind of like a round nose. He's like a really big comedian.
Elmer Fudd?
No, kind of looks like him.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Patton Oswalt?
No, it doesn't matter. If you saw a picture, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, Job, who's Will Arnett. In the character.
Yeah.
So he like ends up being like he ends up being gay in season 5, but because of a really funny like series of events. Anyway, he goes and buys that dude, David Cross.
Oh, David Cross. Yeah.
He's really funny in the show. I think
he was the
voice.
He was the voice of the Minion in Mastermind, of the cartoon Mastermind movie. Yeah, good.
Megamind.
Yeah. Sorry, thank you. Yes. So he ends up being gay in season 5.
Yeah, so this kind of pertains. I promise. So he ends up. So he doesn't want to be gay, or like he wants to like hide that he's gay. So he goes to this company called In the Closet something like that, because he thinks it's like a how to get back into the closet.
I see.
But it's actually a closet company. Like they renovate closets, and he ends up buying the closet company. So because of confidentiality, he's like, "This closet people have confidentiality." And
so just to make sure that nobody ever finds out, he buys the whole company.
Bought the whole company. It's really funny in the show, and now he's playing a magic trick with them on their float about coming out of the closet. It's really funny.
Right.
Anyway, I thought that pertained to Men in the Closet.
Yeah. That's one of those shows where describing the plot.
Yeah.
You're surprised it actually makes it that far. Hey guys, in the writer's room, here's something funny. Okay. He goes to a place. It's a real closet place, and he ends up buying it, and there's a float.
Yeah.
What?
If you watch
it, when you watch it's hilarious.
There's so much shock value in that show.
That's honestly, it's confusion and shock value to where you're like, last episode they were married and now they're siblings. What happened? It's a lot of stuff like weird reveals that are like that. It's really
and deadpan
really
delivery, because I know like Jason Bateman gives that deadpan delivery, and he's hilarious to watch doing it that way. Yeah.
Pretty much all of them kind of play off that deadpan delivery, which especially Tobias, who's played by David Cross.
Oh my gosh,
he's the weirdest but also funniest character in the whole. He's so funny.
Bateman is married to the daughter of Paul Anka, and you'll know Paul Anka because he wrote the song "My Way" that people think Frank Sinatra wrote. I Did It My Way.
Oh yeah. I remember you telling me about his more famous. How that's not his song.
It's not his song. Sinatra, I don't think wrote any song.
Yeah,
actually,
sure.
But he's known for it. But Paul Anka wrote it, and there is a version of him singing it, which actually is pretty good. But his daughter is married to Jason Bateman.
Wow.
So
I wish he was in more stuff, because he's really good in Ozark too.
He is good in Ozark.
I had to stop watching that just because it got a little too dark for me.
I watched season 2, and we got rid of Netflix, and I kind of fell off it. And then I was in a place where I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna, not spend my time doing that. But he was really good in that too, and that was not a
comedy,
deadpan comedy at all.
He's just a really good actor,
and it was just really gritty. He's a really good actor, and I think that he's does a lot of the business side of stuff like that, where I think he produced that. I know he directed many of the episodes. He directed the pilot. He directed a lot of the really gritty ones. So he may have also been a creative force behind Ozark. But
he's also just really quick.
He's so smart.
Yeah.
There is a movie called Use Your Words, I think it is. And the premise is that, and this is not a comedy, the premise is that he never finished 8th grade or something like that. Okay. And he wasn't able to compete in the spelling bee.
Gotcha.
And so because he never finished the 8th grade, he's still eligible, but he's an adult. He's like a 40-year-old man now. He's still eligible under the rules because he never graduated 8th grade, and he competes.
Oh, really?
And he's blowing the kids out of the water, and you're wondering, like, this guy's a total jerk and a total narcissist, and stuff like that. Use your words. Bad words. That's it. Gotcha. Thank you. I'm getting the names. I'm getting the movie names kind of. I'm getting them close enough so Hannah can find them on the computer.
Complete proximate knowledge. Approximate knowledge.
Right. Yeah. Sounds like words. And I won't give it away, but there is a reason why he's doing this. That is it's this whole long game strategy he's doing that is very personal for him, and it's not about beating the kids. In fact, in the end, he tries to throw it to give it to the kids because he accomplishes his goal.
Interesting.
But it's a revenge move. It's really good. Bad Words. It's not a clean movie, so don't watch it with the kids. But it is it's well done, and I think it shows Jason Bateman's unique style because I think again he was very much involved in the writing. He may have wrote it, he may have directed it, but he was very much involved in that. And I think it's the most like Bateman probably is in real life. Just that guy that never finished high school. That's a super genius.
Yeah.
You know, and it just comes across in everything that he does. So
I love that guy.
I do too.
He's so fun. Him and I don't even like David Cross that much outside of Arrested Development, but him and David Cross are the whole reason I love Arrested Development. It's just so funny. Right. Every episode, I'm usually like laughing, like deep stomach laughing.
Yeah.
It's just because of how weird. And it's not even like overly inappropriate. There are there are like themes that are like inappropriate, but nothing, you never actually like see or get scandalized. It's always just like, I don't know.
What they say. Is like,
what they say, you're like,
far.
That's an interesting premise, but it's never like actually like grotesque or actually inappropriate. It never gets rated R ever.
Right.
But it just has some things where you're like, that's a really weird thing to say, man.
Rubs up against the edges of it enough for you to go,
It's definitely not a kid show.
No. But there's also nothing in this show that you're like, if my kids walked in and I was wearing headphones, they would.
It would be okay.
Yeah,
it'd be okay.
100%.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really
so I think
funny.
I was telling a story about Australia.
Yep,
it was the Arrested Development of the Australian tale.
Yeah. We talked about the closet, and then
that's right.
Yeah, gay people.
So this woman's 28 years old. She's in the Victoria area. She's pregnant and has 2 kids. Now, I have a feeling that she's a little bit of a whack, but Australia has a law that you need to wear the mask and social distance in this time of pandemic and all these different things. And she posted under an alias on Facebook and invited people to come to this anti-lockdown rally, saying wear your mask, stay 2 meters apart, all the stuff that you're supposed to do. And cops come into her house, and she's arrested for inciting a riot. Okay.
Wow.
And she goes, listen, I'm pregnant. I have an ultrasound in an hour. And I'll take it down. I'll take it down. I won't go. Instead of being arrested in front of my kids, because these 2 little kids watching their mom get arrested, they go, nope. You're inciting a riot where you shouldn't have put that out. We don't want people coming and doing anti lockdown protests. She gets arrested. I think it's her boyfriend, not her husband, is videoing the whole thing. Her kids are scandalized. Her kids are terrified. Of course, that video then goes viral, and 3 million people plus have seen it so far. So whereas her little Facebook post, maybe would have gotten to a few thousand at the most. Now the world knows about this anti-lockdown thing that's supposed to happen on September 5th, by the way. If you're in Australia, September 5th.
We have the freedom of speech here, so there won't be any cops in this closet. Yeah.
Oh, we don't know. I don't know. We should make this like a false wall or something like that. So nobody, in case the cops come in, they won't be able to find us. Exactly. They start coming in through the small doors. Anyway, crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
That's really crazy.
And it's Australia. I don't know. We almost moved to Australia once, and we looked into it. Australia's kind of like America in the 1950s.
Yeah.
That's like the best way I can describe it.
There are cultures that way.
Yeah.
It's very misogynistic, but not in like an abusive way, just in like a
masculine,
the man runs the house, woman takes care of the kids, how it goes.
And it was, but it's not a police state by any means. It is a democracy, so I'm actually really, really surprised that secret police kind of come in and arrest the pregnant woman.
Gestapo.
They thought it was a good idea, stuff like that. So I'm sure somebody's losing their job over that, though.
Yeah,
because
probably.
that's now going to be this huge PR issue, especially since she's pregnant.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was the big no-no. And in front of her kids.
Yep.
Because,
bad move. All right. I don't have anything more like news related, but did you have anything you want to talk about, Jack? Or Mike, do you have anything on your...
Not particularly. Nothing to add, but I think as a viewer, they may be wondering when we're going to get to our warning episode that we promised.
Oh yes.
Week.
So I do have. I do want to see what Jack has, and I am ready with kind of the Fatima timeline, given that we, given that the movie Fatima just came out.
Mm-hmm. We could even do a whole different episode on it. Just
I think that
if anybody's wondering, because we was like, we'll do next episode, and then next episode came out. We never talked about it, and then now we're doing this episode.
I think it'd be a good idea to do a full episode on that one,
or
just on Fatima or on the warning, two different things.
I think it all ties into one.
I think it all ties in.
Episode.
I think continuity wise.
I'm imagining a Fatima discussion, which could go, an hour,
2-parter,
and then a warning one, which is completely separate from that.
But I think it helps to understand the legitimacy of Catholic prophecy first with Fatima.
Yeah, I think so.
And then, so I think it'd be really important if it was either part 1 and part 2, or not just kind of sprinkled in. Just because I think that's like that's something that people are like, okay, they watch part 2 and they're like, okay, that's really interesting. Then we find some I don't know.
Yeah.
Just I think it'd be more helpful that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Or shoot for one episode if needs to, roll a part 2.
Yeah.
All right.
But,
or just have a 6-hour conversation and cut it.
There you go.
Yeah. Or we could do it tonight as part 1 and cut it 2, but we'll see how it goes. I know it's better to have one full show. Probably.
I don't know if I'm
Fatima
mentally ready
for Fatima.
Yeah. Not that I can't handle it. I can. I'm just more. Yeah, kind of tired.
Yeah. Well, it's late. We started this one a little later than we usually do.
Yeah.
So, not that it necessarily be shorter, but we're not necessarily going to get into that deep of a dive tonight. And if we do,
fun.
we'll go right into it. All right. So the Fatima movie did come out. I did see it. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Not
yet. No.
It is worth seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, as a movie, maybe 7.5 to 8 stars. Not Passion of the Christ. A good enough movie. And they get some things wrong. They get a lot right, but they also get some of the things incorrect.
Important things?
Some of them are important. Some of them, I believe, are... Some of them you can overlook to say, okay, that would have probably cost too much to have her up on top of the tree or something like that.
Was the Blessed Mother wearing blue or red?
She was wearing white, which is what she wears in Fatima.
I was making a joke too.
But her outfit is not the same as the Our Lady of Fatima statue. They do a couple things that they get it right, but they do leave a few key things out that I don't think I think they just left them out. The acting's very good. The girl who plays Lucia, the 10-year-old Lucia, does an excellent job. It is an excellent job. The woman that they cast as the Blessed Mother is excellent in that role, and I really, really liked the way they did the way she discloses her immaculate heart with the thorns and how the sins are hurting her immaculate heart. It was actually it wasn't graphic, like gross graphic, but it was very visual as opposed to just her holding a heart, which is usually what you see in the prayer cards. And it was moving. So it was good. And I think everybody should see it. And it's a good introduction into what is this Fatima thing? Okay. So I have some friends who are like, say Orthodox, and they've never heard of Fatima. And so I would say, you know what, go watch that movie and then let's talk. And then I'd probably fill in the gaps on that. So that's my brief review of the movie. I do recommend that anybody who is interested in hearing more about Fatima, the apparition of the Blessed Mother in 1917 in Portugal, which you'll probably know it best as the Secrets of Fatima, or actually it's one secret in 3 parts. And a lot of people may have heard of the third secret of Fatima. We'll get into all of that in a different podcast, but for your homework, go watch the movie. Because if you watch the movie, at least you'll have a starting place, and then we'll have a common place that we can have a discussion from.
Sounds good.
CNN gave them a really surprise that it was from CNN. Gave a really respectful and positive review on the Fatima movie.
I think they did. I read that one too, and it was actually a very objective and respectful review that was just a review of the film.
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was accurate.
Yeah. I didn't see the movie, but what I did like about it is they didn't use, because a lot of secular things about, a lot of secular news or review, outlets when talking about Christian stuff, sometimes, especially in today's day and age, you like to use words like supposedly this happened, or like, you know, the myth of whatever. When you're like, we don't believe it's a myth though. But I didn't see any of that in the CNN articles.
It was really, I was actually more respectful than the character played by Harvey Keitel in the movie, who's known for a lot of his Scorsese movies and everything, who plays the skeptical professor in 1989, that, you know, he's super hardcore skeptical about everything. So, no, they did a really, really good job. And for those who are listening who know about Fatima, you know that Fatima is a big deal in the Catholic Church. If you've heard about it, I can tell you it's a big deal because for a few different reasons. And as a legitimate teaser, not as a false teaser, but as a legitimate teaser, she gives some predictions, and she gives a secret, again, disclosed in 3 parts, that many people think the third part has not been fully disclosed yet. And the third part has to do with our time now. What a lot of other seers, if you will, besides the ones at Fatima, would call these end days, not the end of the world, but the end of these days is what they say, like Saint Faustina and stuff like that. So if you're at all interested in that, and if I've piqued your interest in, well, what is Fatima about? What does she say we have to do? What's coming? Is it close? Watch the movie and then tune in, and we'll do a full thing on that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think is it Fatima when the Muslim mother also like quote unquote like predicts World War II, as in like she that's what I thought.
Second secret.
Yeah, so that's
second
part
of the secret.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And again, just a little bit of piquing of the interest, the second part of the secret, known as the second secret, and it's called the secret because she reveals these things to the children in the July apparition. She appears 6 times, 1 month at a time, on the 13th of every month from May to October. And in July, she reveals the 3 parts of the secret to the children. She says, don't tell anybody about these until I tell you it's okay. Mm-hmm. And she gives approval for them to reveal the first 2 parts later on. The third one, there's a whole long series about that was supposed to be disclosed in 1960, and the church was holding it back, and it wouldn't disclose the third secret. And everybody's going, well, what is it? Then they said they did disclose it in 2000, but it doesn't seem like it's the full secret was disclosed. And so the second part was that if people do not amend their ways, a second war will come. So we're at the end of World War I when she appears, 1917. And she says, if you don't amend, and in fact, if you don't amend your ways, you'll know, because when a strange light is seen in the sky in Europe, then you'll know the second war is about to begin. Basically, war is a punishment for man's sin. That's what she reveals. God punishes you for sin with war by allowing war to happen. He doesn't send the war.
Yeah.
And World War I was a punishment, and World War II then became a punishment. And Hitler, he always makes his way somehow into all our podcasts. I don't know how. But Hitler was in with the Wolf's Den. The Wolf's, remember from Valkyrie, that place, that secret place he would hide out. He was in the Wolf's Den, and he was a huge occultist and supernaturalist. And he knew about the second secret. And he watched. And in 1938, I think it's February 1938, these strange red lights appeared all throughout Europe. Nobody knew what they were. Some people said, well, maybe the Aurora Borealis came far south. Well, first of all, it's really far south for it to come. But other people said, that was no Aurora Borealis. I've seen an Aurora Borealis. This was something different. And they can't explain what these lights were in the sky. Hitler saw them and said, now we can shed blood. Mm-hmm. And then he took the Sudetenland, basically Czechoslovakia, in 1938. She both predicts that will happen and under what pope it will happen. And by the way, she predicts it will be under Pope Benedict Pope Pius XI. Mm-hmm. Pope Pius XI wasn't pope when she predicted.
Yeah, this is like 20 years later, right? From when she predicted it?
Yes.
20 or take. Yeah,
11 years, right? 21 years, you're absolutely right. And then also on the October 13th apparition, it's the only public miracle that was actually predicted before it happened, and it appeared both time and date when it happened, place and date, rather, I should say. And the largest public miracle since the parting of the Red Sea is the October Miracle of the Sun, as some people may have heard. So, we'll let you know. I'll set it as a premiere, so we'll know ahead of time too when the Fatima episode is going to air. We'll record it so people can, if you're interested in, if we're getting you excited about it, we'll let you know. Maybe we'll do that as the next cast.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have some crazy stuff, Jack? Current event.
Man, I'll be honest. I've been spending most of my time in deep prayer. In the last week, I've been really growing my faith, and it's been that's where I've been spending most of my time the last week.
It's probably a better place to spend it than on the current events.
Yeah, It's pretty strange. It's weird. I unintentionally I was texting Nick Wall about this. Is for some reason I like, you talk about, everyone like knows you're supposed to detach from material things, everyone that kind of goes on this path of self-development, it's you want to detach, you want to kill the ego, you want to be all these things. It's been crazy the last week. Like, I just have lost taste in like technology and material things, and it's been a really interesting week.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been praying 3 rosaries a day.
Wow.
Which is recommended. Right. I've been going to daily mass, and I've been saying the Divine Mercy, and so I've been spending most of my time doing that the last week. Right. What I do have,
and by the way, the message at every apparition of Our Lady of Fatima from the beginning was pray the rosary every day for peace in the world. Pray it every day. Yeah. Which is good, because I think some people, even if you do pray the rosary, even as a family, it might be, the rosary. Gosh, yeah. I mean, everybody, we've all had that instant, like, the rosary, gotta do the rosary again. And I think it's good to see in the movie and to know the story that it's not just your parents telling you that, or your priest or something like that. It was Our Lady's message. If you really want peace in the world, you can have it, but you got to pray the rosary every day. Yeah. Yeah. So good.
Yeah. Well, she talks about that's the solution to world peace, but it also, that's a pretty bold goal if you're hoping for world peace, which it can happen. But you'll definitely you'll find more peace in your own life. As an individual,
Absolutely.
you'll start.
I think it's both, right?
Which probably, if everyone starts having individual peace, that's what creates world peace. Because like, what is world peace? It's everyone wants peace, or everyone doesn't want war.
At least the majority of people become holy.
Yes,
and you has to work one person at a time. Hearts and minds changed, and the rosary, believe it or not, can convert your own heart and mind, which then. Exactly. I think you're right.
Yeah. So it's really awesome. What I do have, though, is, let's see, we were talking a little bit before about the NFL and the NBA. NFL's week 1 is coming up. And,
so first of all, somebody like me who doesn't follow this, there is actually going to be an NFL season.
There's going to be an NFL season.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's going to be a football season.
There's going to be a football season. And it looks like it's going to be a lot like the NBA, which the NBA season was terrible, and
what it's going to be similar? No fans in the stadium. No,
I think that's what it's going to be. I think I don't know exactly how they're going to do it as far as travel and with stadiums, but it does look like they're kicking off week 1 when they're supposed to. I'll look more into that.
Right, so they're having practices and they're getting ready, right?
Yeah, they're all having practices. Everyone's trading and signing contracts, and all business is normal in the NFL. Same as the NBA. The interesting about the NBA is that their ratings are down 45%, which Mark Cuban is ticked off about. And a lot of these owners are pretty. They're blaming Trump on it, which is really funny.
Really,
it's really funny. And Mark, these guys are pretty intelligent guys as far as Trump has no impact on the NBA. There's no right. Trump's not having an impact on the NBA. This is the actual correlation, is that people don't realize, everyone thinks that if you're on the left, you're the majority. which is just not true. And
Right.
and this sounds right, even if you don't actually know the statistics, is about 40%, 41% are on the left, Democrats. 40 to 41% are on the right, the Republicans. There's about that 9 to 10% that are in the middle and third party.
Who are the president makers? Because when that middle swings one way,
exactly.
One side wins.
That's when you hear Pennsylvania, it's like what one, the election stuff,
swing state or something like that. Right.
Yeah, it's this 10% that everyone's kind of fighting for.
Right.
Because and you can sway from other sides, which is happening this election. There's a lot of people on the left that are kind of they start liking what's on the right, or they don't like what Joe Biden's campaign is. But it's funny the statistics show this because the NBA ratings are down 45%. So about 40 to 45% of their audience stopped watching, and that because when you go so hard into a social justice approach, which they're doing, and it's not a wrong thing to do if you feel like that's what you have to do, but to expect that you're not going to lose the people that are on the other side of that is absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's funny seeing all these players and the owners that are they don't know what's going on. They're like, why are we down 45%? Like, we're doing the right thing,
Right.
And
Mike down.
Yeah. Mike, could you also crack open the door to the room and keep this one shut? Because then it will stop the whistling. Yeah, Mike's down. Mike's mic is down.
Wow.
The mic down. So we're going to tech support.
Export Hannah.
Our producer, director, camera, sound person, board, business manager. She has a really big business card because it's hard to fit all those titles.
Yeah.
Onto that product.
We're just the talent.
We're just on air talent.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Social media coordinator. There's a couple other ones too, but here she's being a gaffer and a grip, obviously. So,
is that a
best boy or I think the grips are the ones that build things, like if something needs to be built or wired, and I think I don't know what the gaffer does, but they do something similar.
I'm gonna start calling Hannah my gaffer.
The gaffer.
Yeah, the gaffer.
Isn't that the nickname for Sam's father in Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring?
I don't remember.
The old gaffer.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Right, I think that was his nickname. Gamgee's somebody Gaffer. Gaffer wasn't his real name, but that was his name. The old Gaffer.
Yeah.
So how do they lose 45%? Is it because of a politically related thing, like the fans are going to be, I'm not watching the NBA because I'm boycotting them?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say they're boycotting them. It's just they can't watch it, and it's because it's just
annoyed. We're tired of it.
I mean, on the courts and where they're doing all the games, which is I believe in Orlando, it has it's very Black Lives Matters on the court. It's a mural. They all have patches that have it, and all the players are very active.
Oh, I didn't know this. So I'm sorry. I'm the anti-sports fan. I didn't know. So people are not watching it because they don't want to see all of the politics that have infiltrated the sport.
Yeah.
I see.
Keep your politics out of my sports.
Gotcha.
Well, it's become so political that it feels like you're watching a political basketball game instead of watching like I'm watching the NBA. And especially since it's so one-sided.
Right.
That of course, if you're on the other side, you're like, I just don't want to watch this. It's just I want to watch basketball, but I mean, with the whole like everything that's like around the basketball game is just so political that it's just not it's not interesting a lot of people, and so they're taking a very political approach to how they're running the league, and the players they're boycotting their own games or boycotting the playoff.
Is this
games.
the NFL now?
No, this is the NBA.
Okay,
this is and which is and the NFL looks like it's going to go in the same direction.
Way.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that it just looks like everything is just politics now. But it's just interesting because they're down 45%, and they're very confused about it. So it's one thing that is going on.
Here's my observation as someone who actually doesn't watch sports. I think it was in the movie with Will Smith. Was it Concussion? Mm-hmm. That movie with Will Smith? Yep. Somebody says in that movie, God used to control Sunday in America, and then he lost it to football. Football now controls Sunday. So everybody kind of changed their God or who they worship on Sunday from God to football.
The NFL.
The NFL, right.
Yeah.
It was for the NFL.
As a football fan, I would definitely say, I wouldn't say that's everybody.
No, it's not everybody, but there a lot of people in America, and I know this anecdotally because I won't say who their names are on the air, but there was a family that we knew that the mother would take the kids to mass and the father would watch football in the garage, even though he was a Catholic, because football came first.
Yeah.
And so my point is that it would be interesting to see what happens, because while the NBA certainly is important, it doesn't hold that place of high esteem and prestige almost to the fervor of religion, if not to the devotion of religion. I have to see the game. And if the NFL starts going in the same way, will folks put up with a little bit more just because they've got to watch their football? I don't know.
It's possible.
I just don't know.
It's possible.
It'll be interesting to see.
It would definitely be interesting.
Because it is the number one sport in America.
I think
football is by far. Yeah,
I can tell you, Texas A&M. It's the reason why Texas A&M is a quote unquote, if it can be if a nonprofit can be profitable. Texas A&M certainly is, not because of tuition. We have actually low tuition. Mm-hmm. We kill it, billions of dollars in football every year.
I think that
and merchandise.
I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, that's every SEC school.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
And especially the Texas schools, though. I mean, we have a high school Hall of Fame, which I didn't know about till a week ago.
A high school Hall of Fame?
Yeah, for football.
Texas high school football, college football is at a different level than any place else on the United States that I've had an experience with.
It's true.
We broadcast our high school football games.
I did, yeah.
Like on TV.
Yeah. And I think their state games are at the Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah, and it's also not, they also have their own stadiums. Not even like the fields on the campus of the high school. Like they have their own stadium.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Is that all D6 schools?
A lot, probably D6 schools, but a lot of like the nicer ones. And also there's a lot of parents that are not even parents, just adults that will go to high school games, like their college games, but then also like track the players and like look at prospects. And
Friday Night Lights is very real, I think.
Oh yeah, forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a comedian that's talking about that with Texas. Like they take their high school football seriously.
Oh yeah.
On Friday nights, you got to be the last. If you're the last person out of the house, you got to turn off the lights because we're all going to see our high school football. Our local town football and stuff like that. So, yeah, that'll be really interesting to see. Only because if I really wanted to paint with a really broad brush, a lot of the folks that might be sick of the political part are Texans. Yeah. And now you're messing with their sport.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So what's going to happen? It could either be, you know what? I'm just going to drink an extra 5 beers to try to get through it, but I'm not going to give up football.
Bill, what?
Or it could be something where... the people are dying, people are getting shot, Portland's on fire for almost 100 days now, but you guys mess with my football.
Yeah, seriously.
This has to stop in America. And then people rise up, right? Yeah. They rise up because now you've messed with football, MFer.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I'm not making a prediction.
No,
I can see it going
a
few different ways.
Interested view.
Because especially if you're saying that the NFL preseason is starting to look a lot like that.
Looks a lot like it. It looks like they're going to have things on the back of their helmets. It looks like they're going to play the quote unquote Black National Anthem, which I actually don't know what that is. I don't know. I actually have no idea what that is.
I heard of it, but don't know the actual
National Anthem.
I don't know. I really don't. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's on what's the day?
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
What's the song?
I don't know the song.
I didn't know about Juneteenth until this year.
Yeah. Oh wait, I think it's more made itself a holiday until this year.
I didn't know about Juneteenth till this year either. Which
lift every voice and sing. Can we play this? Or is it copyrighted?
Well, I'm sure it could be. It's copyrighted, but
I'll say and give a credit.
We can give a We'll put it in the. grab the link and we'll put it in the description of the show.
Yeah.
Lift every voice and sing. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah,
I'm being woke.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing until this second. My mind's actually kind of blown. Do we have an Asian national anthem?
We'll see.
Hispanic?
We'll see.
Native American?
Yeah.
So is the national anthem now like the white national anthem?
That's a good question. Is the Francis Scott Key one?
Yeah.
That's the white.
That's how the African American community sees it.
Why? It has nothing to do with white people.
And Jimi Hendrix played the white national anthem on his guitar. He should have played "Lift Every Voice and Sing."
Yeah.
And I'm sure that would have been just as popular.
Does Lift Does Lift Every Voice and Sing have anything to do with America? Or is it just like a song that they chose?
Lift every voice and sing.
Yeah. But like, is it like, because like the Star Spangled Banner is obviously about,
or even our
Say Can You See? It's like very clearly.
Yeah, that's about an actual battle that we had, and the fact that the Francis Scott Key was off of the Maryland coast, a prisoner in the British ship.
A lawyer, right? Or
negotiator? He was a negotiator. Very good.
Yeah.
You remember that for kindergarten. I told you that. Yep. Yeah. And he was watching, and the ramparts and the bombs going off in the air. And what had happened was the British were bombing the fort. I think it's Fort McHenry. So strong all night. But everybody that was in that fort, and they were civilians at this point too, I believe, were making sure that the flag did not fall. I mean, you had bodies on top of bodies that were there, and some dead, just to make sure that no matter what happened, even if we all died, that flag is going to still stand. And that's why
Give me chills.
And in the morning, when the light, and our flag was still there.
Yeah.
And so that really commemorates not just a battle, which would say, oh, just a song about some white guy war. It's supposed to commemorate this ideal and the chills that you said.
Yeah.
As an American, that our pride in our country, represented by our flag, is strong, and that you are going to have to bring it all if you want to take us down, and still we're going to give it all to make sure that even if we die, we're not about individualism, we're about the country, the United States of America. I don't know if that's still alive anymore in America, that ideal, but that's what the song's about.
It's gonna be, you're gonna have to take a hard turn. I think we hit the wall. I mean, I think this is proof that right, because we're now having our national anthem not be our national anthem. Well,
yeah, but again, this is something I always not a bias, but I guess kind of, that I always have to like check in my head every time I hear about this kind of stuff, because I think everybody always forgets about the silent majority is like all of America that's not the East Coast and West Coast. Like if you're not in New York, or if you're not in like California or like Washington or Oregon, like all the like the majority of Americans that are just like, I just don't care about anything happening over there. Then they're small towns, they're farmers, they're just normal people just living in, Utah or Tennessee or Kentucky or wherever. They're just like, dude,
California too. Tim Kennedy's from rural.
I guess, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know who Tim Kennedy is?
No.
He's the old UFC fighter, but he's also the Green Beret that has that hard to kill. He's all over the internet. Yeah. He's from Royal California.
Wow, yeah.
And he bleeds.
Yeah. So I'm sure all those people are like, yeah, dude, this is America. These like crazy, because they probably don't even take it that seriously. I'm generalizing and assuming, but a lot of them probably like, yeah, there's some crazy stuff happening on the West Coast. Like there's always have been. And those crazy liberals in California.
Except now the crazy liberals in California are calling anybody who gets chills when they hear the story about the national anthem a white supremacist.
Yeah, but
now it's being, oh, wait a second, you like America, you must be a white supremacist.
Yep.
And they're throwing the word around obviously beyond what it's supposed to mean. But hey, I have the song. Want to hear it?
Yeah, I do. I was wondering real quick, just to finish that point, is if they're paying, if a lot of them are paying enough attention to where they're like, yeah, man, like that just seems like a lot of like LA like hokey doke talk,
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like all the stuff that's happening now.
The country.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, this is just those crazy liberals being crazy liberals again.
I also do wonder if it does come a time for the lay people, or say the normal day people, like step up of how much the crazy people. I'm like, oh, there's a lot more people than we thought.
Yeah, exactly.
U.S. Grace Force. They just what's
that?
Man,
the father. I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
What is the U.S. Grace Force?
It's a channel that
it's a podcast. There's a Catholic priest from Wisconsin. I forget his name now. Sorry, Father.
Oh, is it the three dudes?
Yeah, it's Father. It starts with an H. Sorry, Father, if you're listening to this. If you are, that's great. But Father Heinlein.
Yeah,
something.
and he kind of swaps out sometimes with other guests.
And then there's also Don.
Doug.
Yeah. Doug, who's the lay guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of look like Uncle Joe a little bit.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
Then
talking
they usually
about.
have a third guest.
Yeah.
What do they do?
So, man, I wish I knew his name, but
Heidelman?
is it the main priest that's usually on the left? Yeah. So he's from Wisconsin.
Yeah, he's from Wisconsin.
And Wisconsin is in the middle of this, these
stuff,
new protests and stuff. And what he did is he did a Eucharist procession through his town in Wisconsin, and 3,000 Catholics showed up to the protest to do the procession. Yeah. And then a bunch of other people, uncounted, were like kind of bystanders around there.
Really?
And they say it was the biggest protest, like a singular event protest, compared to all the BLM, Inc. and Antifa, as far as single marches go.
Right, and no coverage.
And barely no
national.
I only know
coverage.
this because of the channel. And,
so Father Heilman is my brain is saying Heilman right now, but I'm not really sure. And Doug, but he's at a parish, and I'm not sure if he's the pastor or not. Kind of like St. John Cantius in Chicago, where they have both the traditional, high Novus Ordo, which Father Heilman does, and then they also have another priest who does the Latin Mass, the Tridentine Rite, extraordinary form, every Sunday and every day. So we actually watched some of his masses when we were in lockdown, and we were watching mass every day.
Okay.
Quick point about the Tridentine Rite, which I think is kind of interesting. I heard this on, or at least a variation of this on a Matt Fradd show. I think it was his show. Maybe it wasn't. It was some Catholic thing. But I think a lot of us as Catholics don't consider is that the Latin Rite, there's 26 rites, and 26.
So there's 26.
There's like the Roman Rite,
23. There's the Byzantine Rite. There's the different churches.
So,
which is different than the. So we're just all the Latin. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, but my point is in a lot of those other masses, they use different language. I mean, they use different, like in Byzantine or masses, do they use more like Greek language? Like, do they?
It's a good question that I don't know the answer to. And I do know that because your grandfather, my father, is in Maronite. They use some Aramaic in the mass, but they also say it in the vernacular. Yeah, and it's in English. Whereas the Latin Rite, which means the one that if you're a Catholic or you've been to a Catholic church, you've been to a Latin Rite mass. That mass is actually originally in Latin, and then it's translated into the vernacular throughout the world.
So, my point is though, or at least the point I heard that I'm, spitting back out, is that a lot of us forget that we are a Latin Rite, and we're kind of forming an English Rite in a sense. Yeah. That with the Novus Ordo, we're losing our Latin roots and losing the idea that we're the Church of Rome, and and that's like our language. That's our unifying language. We're kind of, in a way, more in words than in actuality, forming like this English Rite that's separate from the Latin Rite through the Novus Ordo Mass, because we're completely forgetting our Tridentine roots and moving away from Latin.
That's a good point. And historically, each of the major rites, there are more than 12 now, but originally each of the major rites, like the Greek and even in India and stuff like that, were the tradition has it that the apostles themselves created the rite, and the Latin rite is the Mass of Saints Peter and Paul, because they were the two in Rome. Yeah. So that's what it's the Roman rite. But there's also one in Greece, and those were St. Andrew, where somebody did one in Asia Minor, because he was over there when they were spreading the word. And there's other ones that came, like the Maronites, because they found them like hundreds of years later. And they said, we've been here the whole time.
We've been doing Mass.
We've been in these caves in Lebanon.
Who's the Pope?
We've been loyal to the Pope and everything.
No, but I'm saying
you guys just didn't know that we were here. Yeah. We knew that you guys were there. But you're right, that we, as Catholics, Latin Catholics, another church would call us that, we are the Church of the Roman Rite. And it's not just the English Rite. I get your point, though. It's the vernacular right, because in Brazil they're saying it in Portuguese, right? In Mexico they're saying it in Spanish.
Yeah.
In France they're saying it in French. It's whatever your vernacular is, and you definitely are losing the historical parts of it. And by the way, that right has not changed much at all. Very, very small tweaks until 1969. So, yeah.
Anyway, back to Black National Anthem.
Oh yeah, you want to hear it?
I'm really curious
All
to
right,
hear this.
I have Beyonce "Homecoming," "Lift Every Voice." You think that's it? Want to try it?
Is it Lift Every Voice and Sing?
Yeah.
Is it, Hannah?
I think this is it.
Yes.
Yeah, the description is Beyonce sings the Black National Anthem during a sporting event.
What does that have to do with America so far?
I looked at the lyrics. It doesn't.
Not at all?
No, it's just we stand together as people, and that's it. Pretty much. At least that's what I got from it.
So what's the Russian, not the Russian, let's say the USSR, because that's the most famous, I think.
Yeah.
What is their national anthem 6? I want to know if
Slide it down. Bluetooth. Thanks.
I'm curious to know what,
Oh, the Soviet Union?
Yeah, that's my favorite
let me
one, man,
check.
just because it's so funny.
That's an awesome one.
It's just, I mean, it's funny because of the meme it's created, but it is really cool, and that's kind of what makes it also funny because of the way people use it. Anyway, but my question really is, does pretty much every other country, is their national anthem about their country?
Well, the USSR is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, slide it
sure
back
it
up.
is.
Slide it
Slide it
back
back
to
up.
where it was. That was good.
Let's rock the house on this. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, there's nothing better.
I used to have an app that would play this if somebody started sounding like a communist. You hit the
that's
button.
awesome.
It would just-
This song may be more patriotic than the American
Yeah, seriously.
national anthem.
What I was just about to say is this tune copywritten, and can we make this the new national anthem with English, like with American,
the Russian
meaning over
American
it?
national anthem, because the
Exactly.
Black National Anthem means there must be some nation
Yeah, that's a
for
good
which
point.
this is the anthem.
That's a good point.
And
Oh,
so
so chop. That
Yeah.
dismantled.
chopped,
that's a good-
chopped.
Yeah, that's a good point, though.
I mean,
Is
it's
that
called
is-
the Black National Anthem. I don't know if anybody's thought through what the words actually mean
Yeah.
when you say
Right.
national.
They don't think
They don't
anymore.
know what national means. Not black people, but the people in these movements.
Yeah.
Because they're not thinking more than one step ahead
We
most of the
definitely have
time.
to put the secret door up now.
Yeah, recording from an undisclosed location.
in,
We are
in,
not in a
in
closet.
Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
In the high desert.
Yeah,
From the high desert comes the Manhire Show.
exactly.
Well, I don't think people that are anybody of any race, of any ilk, who is responding from strictly an emotional, a visceral emotional area, is just saying they're thinking of national anthem as like a one word. The song we play in sporting events.
Exactly.
And let's have a black version
That's
of,
what I mean.
of that one. I think it's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah, but I'm really.
curious to know
My turn.
just how. I am very hesitant to use the word racist, but they have their own national anthem dedicated to their
I'd say it's
color.
I'd say it's
I think
kind
for
of
how they say of how racist everybody else is, minus them are,
Well,
it's like that's the big leap for them.
I have a
Very
point
bold.
about that. I think this might get me killed. Bike locks. I gotta wear a
Well, it's
bike
just
lock
the-
proof helmet or
It's not
vest.
the Antifa anymore. It's just a.
Yeah, that's scary. That's a whole nother story. But I really do think this, and man, I hope this doesn't hurt me in the future. It might, or in 5 minutes. I really do think that black people are more racist than a lot of other people in America. Like, I think that there's because a lot of their movement is like the death of the white man. And black people, it's time for black people to reign, which I think is an inherently
Which is what
racist.
their anthem was about. If you read the lyrics,
Oh, I didn't,
Yeah.
but I'll take your word on it.
in a sense, I mean, it's not talking about rebelling, but it's talking about how we need to stand strong now and move on together. We learned from our rugged past, and now we'll learn from our present, and we'll push on together.
Because to Jack's point from last show, I mean, at the end of the day, we all are just Americans. So So if you're coming at it from there's the other Americans, and then there's the Black Americans, and we're our own group, and we need to take back. We need to take over America because it's time for it's our time. That's just an inherently racist statement.
Well, they're not necessarily as saying that Black America should reign. They want to rewrite our government with no actual intention of doing so. They want to have that movement so that the equality reigns in America.
I would argue.
Is it equality though when their anthem is named after their skin color?
I would also argue
not at all
that there is a lot of people out there, at least that are very vocal, that are arguing death of the white man. Yes. White people need to be under us now,
I don't think
and it's time.
Argued. I think it's
they're shouting this from the rooftops that it's time for Black people to have the power, get the white folk out because they're ruining the country.
That was also the battle cry in the 60s, believe it or not.
Black Panther.
There's Black Panthers, and there were a lot of black militant movements. Sorry, guys, you're hearing the noise of us being in the closet still.
Yeah.
If I got to find the actual, I'll find it while we're talking about something else. But there's a series on Prime, on Amazon Prime, if you want to watch it, and one of them's called Anarchy USA. And originally, I thought it was a more modern movie, but when I watched it, I realized it was one of those black and white movies from like 1962.
Oh wow!
And it's like some film thing you'd watch in school or something like that. And it's talking about how the racial, the militant racial movie, not Martin Luther King, but the militant ones that are, it's the watch out white guy.
Yeah.
And this is what's being said. We're coming after you. Your time's up and we're coming after you now. And actually the documentary takes it through how this is a Marxist movement. They go through Castro and Cuba. They go through a couple different countries and how it all, and they break it down to say, okay, in a Marxist movement, you need to identify first the enemy.
Yeah.
And then you have to identify how the enemy is oppressing you. And then, and in different countries, it all fits the same formula. It's not always just like it was in the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, but it's the same formula as find the oppressor, like in China, right? It was the landowners, landlords were the ones that were bad, and they're oppressing you. And so therefore we need to rise up against them. In Cuba, it was the political bureaucracy, the bureaucrat, the Batistas, and we need to rise up against them. And there was a few more examples, and they were showing that that's exactly what's being cried out. That's not the right word. Screamed out.
Yeah.
In this movement now, in this militant movement, that the white man is the landlord, is the Batista government and stuff, and you need to rise up against him so that you can claim rightful power. Not that you want to rule as elite, you just want equality.
Yeah.
You just want to stop being oppressed. But the Marxist movement needs to first sell the people on the fact that they are being oppressed, and needs to point to the person that is the oppressor, and then you do it that way. It's actually quite interesting. I didn't finish the whole thing because I was short on time, but I watched it one weekend. It's called just look up Anarchy USA on Prime. I'll look it up now while you guys are talking. But very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure you picked it up just from extrapolation. But yeah, while you're in the bathroom, I started saying that I genuinely think that the most racist culture now, or the most racist people nowadays, are actually the black community against the white community.
Well, what I think happened, I don't want to reinvite last episode's talking points, but in black culture, you have to understand historically it's in the families that they've been oppressed, and you have to also think that we're only one generation away. I mean,
1966 was the one I was talking about, but I was born in 1969.
Yeah, okay. So the last two generations, there was all the civil rights movements, and there was a poor treatment towards black people as a nation.
Right.
So it stems in from their grandfathers and fathers, and the people in our generation have that family value system that kind of created, because when you have to imagine being in that situation to be treated like that, and you pick a side in a way, because it's Because it was bad. It was really disgusting what happened. You know, I mean, we universal agree with that now, but.
Right, and things like the Chinese landlord or the Batistas, the Batista issues, it wasn't as if this is completely made up. Everybody's fine. Yeah. There's no oppression at all.
Yeah.
Clearly there is an issue, even if it's amped up and said, that's your guy, but there has to be something, in your case, Jack, the case you're pointing out, there's some bad things that have been going on, that have gone on in America's history.
For sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so just to make it clear, I wasn't trying, I don't even think you're saying this, but just to make it clear for the listeners, I wasn't saying that like it's an unfounded, like out of nowhere, black people just hate white people. I'm just more saying that if there is a genuine racism, that's like, I mean, there is with white people too, but I'm talking about like a really broad movement of racism that's happening right now, almost a systemic racism. Yeah, I think it's the black community versus the white community, and not all of them, but I think there is a movement in it.
Yeah, and this is what happened is that this organization took what truly happened and set that on fire. So, and this is why last episode I made the argument that racism is now a problem again because of the left side is pretty much acting like there's a problem, saying that there's a problem. So there's,
and I agree with you on that. I know Will was asking some clarifying questions last episode, saying, you know, is it really an issue? And I think Will was saying, is it really an issue where a lot of white people are racist? I think what Jack's point was,
that was my point,
and still is his point, that race is now and is being brought up as an issue and is in the mainstream thought process of every American, where maybe between 1982 and 2009, a lot of people weren't talking about it as much.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Sure.
what? No, what's your...
I misunderstood you.
No, yeah, me too.
No, that's right. But it was to your point that saying that you were saying that black people very honestly hold racism now. Yeah. They're the racist.
I mean, I think they have for a while. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
No, I'm curious to know what your eye roll is for.
Yeah.
We won't break into a debate. I'm just really curious.
Well, actually, I got some feedback. I got some informal feedback, and they said our last episode was their favorite.
Oh, really?
Because they were tired of hearing us agree with each other all the time.
Oh, well.
So they really liked, and they listened to. So let's get into I'll tell you our statistics. We are up. We were up on the average length of the amount that they were listening to, like 200%.
Oh, wow.
Now, it could be the nice studio in the video, too, you know? Yeah. But I also think it had something to do with it. So if we have real talk, my point is that we're not going to artificially construct a debate, but if we really have something that we are just want to discuss and get into, don't hold back, you know? Okay. Don't make it up, but let it go. And I think we respect each other to know that, you know, we're still family in the end. So
well, the thing is, it's just going to roll right back into last episodes, which I don't know if anyone feels like.
No,
well, you know,
I think so.
I think we should talk about it, because people that are watching this and haven't watched episode 6 don't even know what we're talking about. And if we at least talk about it, they might say, "Oh, if you really spend a lot of time on that, I'll go back and talk about episode 6." But I mean, it's okay. I mean, start it up.
Okay.
Yeah, start it up.
Can I first give my perspective or perception on what the debate was about last night?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. At least my disagreement was that, because first I started by asking if racism was a problem, as in like, because from my mind it seemed like where you're going was that white people really are racist, and there is a systemic racism happening in America right now. Like, white people are holding all the power from black people, and that's where I was like, is that really happening at the beginning? Right. Then you clarified it, and I didn't say anything
wrong.
No.
I mean, far off.
No, Will was asking that as a clarifying question. As he said, he knew you did clarify that, but then he had another issue. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, but then what we were disagreeing on was that the way to fix racism was by fixing the culture, by fixing first, by going through the influencers to fix the culture top down, where our argument was that that's just not going to work unless you're in a utopian situation. And the way to fix the culture would to be go through the individual and have everybody.
How do you do that, though?
I mean, by our argument was that you
praying the rosary every day.
Obviously.
But first off, we never, and I don't think any of us believe that it is possible to get rid of racism. That was another objection.
There's no one solution.
Yeah. But our critique on your solution was that people don't behave through just because you're influenced by somebody initially and you respect them doesn't mean that you're going to be a robot to everything they say. And also that just because you get a bunch of people in a room and hope that they're going to all agree with you means that it's going to solve the problem. And our kind of rebuttal to that in this utopian situation was that, or at least perceived from our side, was that it would be actually probably more functional, not in the short term at all, but as far as like actually people doing things, is by you making a conscious choice as a person through your own means or through hearing this from a friend or from someone you respect. But again, the problem with your thing, because I think this is an easy slip into what you're trying to say, is that trying to get everybody into one room and saying, go out there and preach my message and it's going to fix everything.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, that's at least what
you guys keep hearing, but it's not what I'm saying.
Okay, help us out then.
So I agree with you. It has to happen at the individual choice, and I'm not trying to push an agenda, but I do want to. What I was arguing is that I believe that as a presidential leader, the president should meet with the left side leaders, and we should talk about it like a world peace deal. And that's
I don't think we disagreed with that. I think we disagreed.
But it's also exactly what I'm talking about.
The only thing we disagreed with that would be the solution. And what I meant by, I thought about it afterward. Okay. And this is what I heard you saying, that if the president were to get the influencers on the left, Cardi B, sorry.
Barack Obama. Michelle Obama.
Sure.
Yeah,
this is what I'm talking about. Keep going. I mean, LeBron James.
I still completely disagree, but
let him. Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'm talking about everyone who's got like an influence on the left side right now, who's firing this thing with the BLM movement, Inc. I mean, the burning American flag, switching the anthems to the Black National Anthem, all coming from the left side leadership that is advocating that we should make these changes. So I personally don't see a way out of this unless we take both sides and we try to find a middle ground on a solution on how we're going to do this. Because on the left side, they want to change America drastically. And on the right side, they believe in the constitutional values. So, it's seen as a split on, you're either on the left and you're the enemy on the right, or if you're on the right and you're enemy on the left. Just like it happened in Israel and UAE. I mean, that's just what's been happening forever, is that they just seen each other culturally for ages, that they were the enemy. And how the peace treaty happened is that Jared Kushner and the heads of state went to each side and they listened. And I heard an interview with Charlie Kirk with Jared Kushner verbatim how he did this. It's amazing. And when he went to each side and he listened and he tried to create solutions with how to meet their goals. And he went to Israel and did the exact same thing and brought them into, I don't know if it was an actual room, but they brought them together and saying, look, there's common interests that we have and we have common grounds, and we don't have to be going to war over, what we believe, and they broke one of the biggest peace deals in the Middle East that's ever happened.
And I understand that. I don't think the analogy holds for the reasons I mentioned last time too, that we're not dealing with heads of state. We're dealing with, like you said, influencers, cultural influencers. And for sure, trying to get people into the same room and having this discussion we should do it. Trump should do it.
Yeah.
President should do it.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, no, we should do it. But I think the point that we didn't agree on is that, and then it will all be okay.
Well, if it were not that it will be all okay as far as a bow on top.
Not even if it worked. And what I thought about was this. I think everybody knows the war in the Pacific and World War II enough to know that the Battle of Midway was a huge. We got lucky.
Yeah.
But because of that, we were able to do a couple other things. And if we hadn't won the Battle of Midway, we might not have won the war in the Pacific. It was a pivotal battle, but it turned the tides, And, Patton taking Messina in Sicily in Europe was a big deal, getting to Messina and cutting off their flow into Africa ended up all contributing to the war in Europe and stuff like that. And I see what you're saying as a Midway or a Messina. Yes. You know what? If you don't take Midway, if you don't win Midway, your chances of actually winning the war are really, really low. If you don't take Messina, that's going to be tough to beat Hitler in Europe. However, Patton taking Messina is not why the Allies won the entire battle in Europe. And the Battle of Midway, even though it went our way, was not okay. Japanese are surrendering, right? You know what I mean?
The only break in the analogy is that you're talking about a war, and this is it's on the opposite, and it's trying to be a peace agreement,
that's what the end of a war really is. We're going back to peace instead of fighting.
Right, but if you look at or at least in World War II on the Japan side, we're talking about taking Midway as far as an airfield as like a position in war. Yeah. And you're talking about a conquer zone on where we dominate Japan to where they now have to be in a position like, hey, we don't want this anymore. But,
I think it holds, especially because I think metaphorically there is these conquer points of influence, if you will, or at least in the zeitgeist, in the public mind of this is good and this is not good and this is logical and this is not logical, or at least I agree with this and I don't agree with this. So I do think there are these places in like the metaphorical world that you can take in people's
Well, the metaphor is really this. It's not even the battle one. It's tactics versus strategy. Messina is a tactical objective. Midway was a tactical objective. What's the strategy? To have the war be over. I won't even say win the war, but to have the war be over without us, being a Japanese nation or a Nazi nation or Europe falling or something like that. And so I see what you're suggesting as a wonderful and maybe even critical tactic. However, I don't see it and I see it as a tactic that needs to fit into a larger strategy that's made up of other tactics that build off of each other. That's saying, and if this happens, then what? What's step two?
Well,
you get everybody in the room, and then they go, you know what? I think this is a good idea. I think, what we came out of that. First of all, I don't think this would ever happen. This is just the pragmatist in me. That says, I don't think Barack Obama is going to walk out and say, we had a great meeting with Trump, and you know what? We all agree. I'm going to go and I'm going to start preaching a different message right now. I just think everybody's a little too, economically captured in their position.
Egotistical.
They also have an ego stake in it too. And then they truly believe, I think, that what somebody like Trump would propose would be absolutely wrong. And it's the opposite too. I don't think Trump would walk out and say, you know what, Barack Obama was right the whole time.
But would you agree if that did happen, that would change the country?
It would change. It has the potential to.
No, it just like Messina changed the tide of the war, just like Midway changed the tide of the war. Forget the war part, and just trying to put it into a beginning end thing. I think that it would be, if that happened, it would be, wow. People like me, small potatoes people, but also big potatoes people would say, maybe we've got a chance here.
Yeah.
And maybe we should have more of these. And maybe we should, in other words, the tactics now shift and they build off of that tactic. Then it becomes an overall strategy. Now, some people are going to still say no to it, right? You're going to have some orthogonal resistance against your movement. But I don't agree that, like brokering a peace deal between two combatants, this is just, okay, now you guys shake hands and we're all good, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, you sign that paper, I don't know, Trump, Obama. First of all, we don't even have sides like that in that sense, right?
I think I was following you, and I think I'm kind of unfollowing you now, because I'm not talking about shaking, like we have to shake hands, we have to now sign legislation. It's getting both of the leaderships on the sides to try to find this common ground, where if Barack Obama did say leave the meeting with Trump, he's like, that was a fantastic meeting and we're going to try to move forward as a country to actually tackle some of these issues. I think that would be successful for America.
I think that would be successful win, like taking Messina, like the Battle of the Bulge, like taking Normandy.
For sure.
I think it would be a successful win.
And I think that's what.
Well, for sure, it's not going to be over right after the meeting. I mean, nothing would end overnight.
But I also don't know that guarantees a win either.
Yeah.
For sure, doesn't guarantee a win, but it's definitely a step in the direction.
It absolutely would. And then on a practical end, I don't think that result will ever happen.
And that's 100% possible.
Yeah.
There's 100%. That's not at all. I'm not saying that could not happen. That but I think that there needs taking that shot is one of a handful of how we really get out of the direction we're headed in. Yeah, that's just my perspective and belief. I can't really try to fathom anything else that would really move America to unity, to having a stronger country, taking, all of us uniting across the American flag.
Outside of aliens invading.
Yeah.
Or Russia invading.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, well, problem. I don't know. I mean, you don't, I mean, it could be like one of those things like the left might hope that Russia comes, I mean, we're in a pretty bad spot,
I guess I hear you, and I would say, I'm not going to speak for Will or for Mike, but I think that would be nice, and I can agree that if that were to happen, that would be a very, very important event.
Yes.
Not for just one person to agree, but to have a whole bunch of, a whole cohort of influencers agree. And but I think it is an academic exercise. In other words, I don't think that'll ever happen. I think it's similar to talking about aliens invading, to say, but if aliens invade, what would happen? Well, I think we'd do this, and this would move here, and this would move here, and we go, okay, but we're still living in the world of hypothetical. We're not dealing in any plan that say, now let's execute the anti-alien plan. Well, wait a second, we don't actually have aliens, right? And I think we're still kind of living in the land of, while yes, I can imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine the lion laying down with the lamb and the baby and the adder and all of that. I just don't think that that's a reality.
It's possible that it couldn't happen, but no one thought UAE and Israel were going to ever have a peace agreement in the Middle East.
That's not true. I mean,
it's pretty true.
Well, so I mean, Carter brokered a deal between Egypt and Israel in the 70s. The 1990s, Clinton did it with the PLO and with Israel. Kushner did it now with the UAE and Israel.
But it was
by the way, bombs keep falling in Israel.
Yeah, that's because of Syria and Iran. But
there's always a reason. My point is that it hasn't always been Syria and Iran since the 1960s that this has happened.
And also, we're not talking about political views as much as we're talking about inherent bias. Because ultimately, if I remember correctly, and I'm pretty sure I do, one of your arguments was that it would end race. At the end of all of this, even at the very end of the roadmap and end of the war,
that's
racism would be gone.
There's a tactic for that strategy.
Yes, when racism is impossible to eradicate. Like, it's just humanly impossible to eradicate out of the human mind. So unlike these other things where there's, well, if you can give us this, like, more money in here, or you can fund this more, or whatever, we can come to an agreement, and I can see it on this, and you can see it on that. I don't think we can all, at the very end, come to this agreement of, I can give up my racism, because I don't think there's that many people that are quote-unquote racist that are going, you know what? I woke up not a racist, but I'm going to choose to be a racist today, because I didn't get this. I think
the opposite.
Yeah, right? Or the opposite.
Say, I was a racist, but now that I see Barack Obama doing this or Trump doing that, I'm going to, because most of these biases are unconscious.
Yeah, exactly.
It would assume that you have a conscious awareness of your bias.
But you don't think that there would be, if say I woke up and I was an avid, Barack Obama influenced my life. I loved Barack Obama. Barack Obama comes out and he starts talking about how we need to. Now, here's the thing. The one thing I could disagree that I did think about is that my initial dartboard thought of trying to end racism in the sense of, and I thought about this too, and I looked up the definition of racism, and the sociology definition is just characteristics of the body or nationality. And if you look at what we consider races, I don't want to deviate too far. I want to explain this
It's
point.
a social it's a social construct.
Exactly. It's a social
race is a social construct.
It's varied between different nationalities like Africa or Asia, or
it's about original origins of the
or
people,
Jewish people too. That's considered another race too. Now, medically, your epidermis.
Sorry, it's being a closet and cold.
Yeah.
I have my my linen habit behind you that you can pull out the hood.
Cool.
That's what I was pointing to. It's right on top. It's right underneath that.
That's a good idea. Sorry,
it looks better than your Nana shawl.
You're right. I was just cold. Cold. Go ahead, Jackson.
Medically, your pigment in your skin is all melanin related, and the historically on how an African American became a darker tone is because their sun exposure in Africa was way different than it was in England and Russia.
Absolutely.
Over time,
and we talked about with Neanderthal and all of that too.
Yep.
In a different.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that anybody at the table would say that race is not a social construct.
Okay.
Race is a social construct for sure.
Okay. So
but racism is a inherent bias or an unconscious bias that we have based on the epidermis, which is a social construct. Based on that social construct, I have now categorized unconsciously who is good and who's bad, who's like me, who's not like me.
No, so why is that?
Okay, so I'll give you another example real fast, and then, for instance, in the turn of the century, 1900s, there was a lot of prejudice against Italians who came over here, Irish who came over here, and against Italians and Irish. In other words, the Italians didn't want the Irish around, and the Irish didn't want the Italians around. And God forbid an Italian should marry an Irish.
Mm-hmm.
But that happened. Actually, it happened a lot, especially like in New York and New Jersey and stuff like that. And then we think now, we're about 100 years later, a little bit more, right? And does any one of us think about, I can't believe that the Italian and the Irish got together? No, it disappeared. It fell away, right? Yeah. This is why I made the joke that everybody should have to, there should be a ban on marrying your own race, because everybody would just look the same in the end after 100 years.
Yeah.
But that social construct that was unique to a certain part of the world disappeared over time.
Mm-hmm.
That social construct that's now based simply on race, skin color.
Your skin color.
We'll call it skin color at this point. Is as a social construct can go away.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody sat down with the Italians and the Irish and the English and the Scottish, and said, let's all sit down, and you understand that I'm Italian. And, we'll understand the Italian concerns. We'll understand the Irish concerns. We'll understand the people that have been here for 100 years concerns, and we'll all walk away. No, what had to happen was there had to be, if you will, an interbreeding of them to where 2, 3, 4 generations, I'd say 3 generations at least, probably 2 generations. That social construct doesn't exist anymore. And the difference between Irish and Italian no longer exists in America. It no longer exists. Your grandmother, your great grandmother, meaning your Grandma Jo. Okay. She's Italian. And, so it's my father's mother. And then my father's father, he was, white Baptist from England, and that's where his people came from. He didn't come from England, but she was Italian. And his parents said, there's no way you're going to marry that dirty wop.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to marry that dirty Catholic wop.
Yeah.
And that was a thing back then. You wouldn't
in the culture, right?
In the culture, right? And that was a thing where you had this hard, it isn't racism technically, but it's a prejudice based on, in that case, national origin, which is different than race. They're both social constructs.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's pretty much the same idea though.
Yeah.
But wait a second. Why? But if I was your great grandfather saying, but mom and dad, she's not a dirty wop. She's a person,
right.
And she happens to be Italian and stuff like that. You don't understand. I grew up with these people. I grew up with them. Okay. They're dirty. They live together in the squalor. I don't know what they're doing at these masses. Okay. That's not who we are. And I've had some bad experiences with them. Okay. So no, trust me on this. I'm your parents. I know better. Now, the mom or dad aren't thinking, I will foist my prejudices upon my child. What they're thinking in their conscious mind is, I'm going to try to help my kid. This is actually their justification. It's not even what's really happening. They're actually unconsciously feeding back and helping themselves by saying, I don't like Italians. I don't want my son married to an Italian. I don't want an Italian around. So I will, this is an unconscious process. I will place into my conscious thoughts some really good reasons. It's called rationalizing. I'm rationalizing why that's not a good idea. But the deep-seated prejudice is in here. So if you had sat your great-great-grandmother down and said, well, here's the plight of the Italians and stuff like that, and she would have said, well, no, I respect them, but, I think it's best that, everybody stays to their own. Each stays to their own. Italians stay to their own. We stay to our own. That's just, I think, the way it is. That's the way God made it. Now, I just don't think they would have walked out of that thinking, yeah, you're right. They wouldn't have gotten rid of their unconscious biases out of a conscious discussion.
Well, here's the question. This is my question. Is it truly unconscious that they have those biases? Now, because listen, because like what I'm hearing is that culturally in the society in the early 1900s, the Irish and the Italian hated each other for whatever reasons in that time period.
So everybody hated the Irish and hated the Italian and the Irish hated each other too.
Yes. So we had this anti-different ethnicity that was happening in the early 1900s. Grandma Jo, in this example, she got her unconscious bias from the influence of her parents that's saying exactly what she's trying to say to her kids is that we do not talk to the Irish.
Yeah. Well, it was actually the opposite as far as Grandma Jo is the object of the racism.
Okay, so Grandma Jo's parents.
But then Grandma Jo, your Grandma Jo's husband, your great-grandfather, his parents were saying, you're not marrying that dirty Italian girl.
Okay,
and then, but also his great-grandpa, Grandma Jo's wife, didn't seem to have that.
Grandma Jo's husband.
Yeah, Grandma Jo. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. Grandma Jo's husband.
That wasn't legal back then.
No, I know. Grandma Jo's husband didn't seem to have that unconscious bias because he was okay with.
He wanted to marry her.
Yeah, he was okay with marrying Grandma Jo.
That's my point. I don't think it. I don't get how it's unconscious bias where you're. Now it might be unconscious as an adult, but I don't think you're born with an unconscious.
Oh no!
They're not choosing to be racist.
No, yeah, it's a cultural creation. It's it's all the inputs that go into you throughout your entire life,
right?
And you develop these. Okay, but you're not conscious of it. You're not saying, I can choose who I'm going to like and who I'm not going to like, and I'm going to just choose Italians.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Just like attraction's not a conscious choice. I mean, it's an unconscious bias. Like I'm attracted to Hannah not because I looked at Hannah and went, I'm attracted to all these women, or they all have the same potential of being attractive to me.
Because now you're talking about biological attraction instead of where you're talking about human.
But tribalism is I'd say tribalism is biological. It comes from
I think only through culture though. You're not attracted to Hannah because you like her culture. You're attracted to her because you're biologically attracted to her.
He could actually, it's probably both, but I think your distinction is a good one, which is there is there's a biological urge to be attracted to someone that there's an urge to that that's biological, and then beyond the urge, the choice. Some of those reasons for you choosing a certain person are going to be based on preferences, but they're also going to be based on how you were raised.
Exactly. That's
what
TV
I'm you watched. All these different, but they're not conscious.
Yes.
No, but you understand. But hear what you just said though. No.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
But my point is also, I really believe that racism is one. It's cultural based and it's experience based. Okay, it's still unconscious. Okay.
Well, but it stems from your culture, from the TV.
So, yeah, and again, it can't.
Let's keep tracking this though. Who's on the TV? Who's influence?
But that's not the only.
It's not. It's your individual experiences.
This is my whole thing about that I said last time about the blonde you dated in high school. That you can go and have a bad experience with one person when in an informative view or even in a non-formative time, and that one person or that one attitude or that one person you saw walking down the street, whatever it was, okay, that commercial you saw, that ad on the newspaper you saw, can make you go, I don't like blonde people because she treated me really poorly, or that girl on TV looked like a real B word, and that wasn't even an influencer, it was just an actress in some show. Like whenever I watched Gone Girl, whoever the
Same thing, by the way,
Not necessarily, because
no,
let's take it
influence.
Take it away from attraction. Take it, do something else.
Okay,
well,
this isn't about attraction. This isn't about attraction.
Okay,
like so, and they're also not influencers in my situation. So like in Gone Girl, the wife, the crazy lady, Ben Affleck's wife. Yeah, I can't watch anything with her in it nowadays because all I think about is that insane lady. So. But I didn't choose to go, I don't like this girl because she's insane anymore. And it has nothing to do with attraction. But she's also not an influencer because she was in a TV show that she had no control, or a movie that she had no control on her character. She was just paid to say, hey, portray this person. So she couldn't have cut and said, okay, now I know I look like this. In fact,
she was a great actress because she did what she was supposed to do, which was to give you this effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't consciously go, well, she's a really evil lady, so I don't like her. It is now burned into my brain after that experience to go, I can't stand that lady because all I see now is murderous girl. So it's the same thing. Let's say a Hispanic person robs you when you're 10.
Can I just ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
I don't want to cut you up, but I just want to ask you a question about that. If that actress sat down with you and she's like, I'm a Catholic. I'm extremely charitable. You know, I don't see any of this is not me. Would that change your perspective on who she is?
Yeah, it could definitely change my perspective, but
That's
I'm also
what I'm suggesting.
Okay, sure. And I think we're all clear. I'm not trying to get short, but I think we're all clear on what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like the same thing for the last podcast and this podcast.
And in fact, it is a proven strategy to overcome an unconscious bias by getting to know the person that you see as different.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be disgusting. They're just different. And anything that's different, we have a bias that says those that are like me are better than those who are not like me. We all have it.
Yes.
Now, what that means by like versus different matters. Remember I told you about the caveman and you came to the tribe and you stayed with the tribe and you were different, but then you became kind of one of us, not because you changed, but because that I didn't see the difference anymore.
Yeah. Right.
Just much like we don't see the difference between Italians and Irish anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And like Will could be in that situation and say, well, wow, I by getting to know her, I don't see her as that different crazy lady. I see the more similarities with me. That's what your point was pointing out. And yes, okay, so that is a proven strategy to combat unconscious bias.
That's how I think we
but hold on. Real quick, let me finish. Because what you just agreed to is actually the exact opposite of what you were arguing last time. Because, let me explain. Because my whole argument last time was that the only way this really works is in the one-on-one individual where you go to somebody and you become their friend.
Changing hearts and minds.
Change their hearts. Just like, and I referenced this, like in Jojo Rabbit, when the Jewish boy that's been filtered with...
the German boy.
Yeah, it's a German boy that's been filtered with anti-Jewish propaganda his entire life and was a Nazi youth and all this stuff, meets this Jewish girl living in her walls, and through realizing slowly and through friendship that their similarities, their differences actually weren't that big, and that she wasn't this evil monster, and they became friends, and she ended up becoming kind of a mother-sister figure to him through his life after his mother died and all this stuff. But that was my whole point in my entire argument, was that this can work what you're saying, but it has to be on the one-to-one individual level, not a bunch of people getting on TV and saying, hey guys, let's all stop being racist and let's all be nice to each other, or whatever agreement they come to, because most people just aren't going to listen to that. Even if they like that person, they can go, yeah, man, Obama sounds like a hack right now, or whatever it is. They just might not agree with them. And then also the argument of, or the situation of them trying to get them all coming into agreement in that room or in that conference meeting or whatever it is unlikely. But where I totally agree with you, and this has been my whole point this entire time, that in that one-to-one individual interaction where I show you that, hey, I'm not so bad and you're not so bad, friendships can form and racism can end.
You wear different clothes, you have an accent, but you've been here for you won't kill me. We got it.
No, you don't understand. Like, I agree with that point, but my question is, so how do you do that?
By one-on-one, living the life of a person who does that. I don't think that there's a top. I'm saying when I say top down,
there's one. I see, this is where I disagree. There's just influence. Influence is just a real thing.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you. But I'm saying that
if you were to influence an individual to have this perspective, it would change. It would change things. It would 100% change things.
But your argument isn't to influence. It's to potentially influence in an idealistic situation. Where
no,
it is though.
How?
Because you'd have to hit a couple different points perfectly for it to actually happen.
And influence is a real thing, but it's not the thing.
Yeah.
Again, obviously. But it's taking Messina. It's not winning the war.
Yeah.
It's a small thing.
How else would you do it?
You can't. But that's the whole point. Is that it's not a utopian situation.
But this is
you actually risk the opposite. Obama coming out and go, no, Trump's a dick.
That's also true.
Trump going, we cannot meet.
Yeah.
I told you they weren't doing that. There's actually a real big political risk.
But we're already in that direction. We're already in the last stand. I mean, we're on the brink of a civil war. I mean,
I agree with you, but I'm saying, but you're proposing this as an end-all be-all solution.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You keep. This is the start. This is the start. Mike. What are you hearing this?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things of what people think each other are believing. I would say that there is, as I think the whole point you're trying to say, there is no one solution and end all be all
which
solution.
I agree.
Yeah,
I 100% agree with that.
And that I also don't think there is other than through organically and maybe suggested to a certain point, but I don't think the suggestion is going to be the thing that makes most people do it, is my point. I guess if we're going to call it, there is a way to stop being racist. It's through friendship with one another that develops organically, not going out and going to like a meeting. I'm not referencing this what you're saying, but saying let's go to let's say out of what you talk about, there comes like these almost like speed dating, but for like end racism, where it's like we're gonna all get into this. I'm not saying this is what you're saying. I'm saying like there's like people start to set up things that say like, hey, let's
expose ourselves to people of other cultures, other beliefs, which is a proven strategy for it. I can tell you the literature all says this.
Yeah. I'm just saying that I don't know if going around in
this
I kind of lost my train of thought on that one, to be honest. But
it's evangelizing. I mean, it's the exact same thing. Where if we look at what happens in the Catholic Church, it's influenced through these evangelists, through these.
I have a question.
You know what I'm
for
saying?
You, Jack.
This comes from influence. Beliefs and values comes from influence.
I totally agree with you. I go ahead, Mike.
So if we were, I don't want to try to win the debate necessarily.
Mike's trying to say something.
Oh no, it's fine. I'll just say, with Jack, who is a big influence in your life?
Right now, well, so I'll pick a few. St. Francis of Assisi has the biggest influence over me right now.
Who's a lot.
David Goggins.
So let's say David Goggins right now, he has a meeting with Barack Obama, and he comes out of that saying, hey, I actually changed my whole opinion and think Obama's right. Would you, and like Black Lives Matter, whatever it is, burning, looting is the right way to go. This is how we're going to fix America.
Or abortion's compassionate.
Yes,
or
abortion. I was going to say something that's really a core to your belief.
Yeah. Would you then be like, you're right, and I'll join you in that cause? Yeah. Would you rebel against his opinion? Let's say he says
abortion's compassionate because, and you're biggest David Goggins fan. You got his T-shirts. You watch him every Sunday. Whatever it is.
Yeah. I'm a huge David Goggins fan. Yeah. No, I thought about this. So let me just clarify what you're actually saying. Is that you're specifically saying that the influencer that I take a lot of influence from now has a position in abortion.
Yeah.
Here's the difference though, is that abortion that's not a middle ground between the right and left. Racism is a middle ground between the right and left. I
think abortion is, but I also don't think...
No, but we're talking about racism. No, we're not talking about abortion.
Okay, go ahead.
It's important. It's really important to note.
We're using abortion as an analogy for
But racism. It's a bad analogy because there's no common ground there. There's no common ground between the right and the left as far as...
That doesn't matter, because what Mike's trying to say is he's trying to push on your point that the influencer's power is as absolute as you're making it out to be.
No, but it matters. The subject matter matters as much as the influencer. I think you're seeing it as an influencer has a direct control over the people, where the influencers influence people for a reason is because they like certain qualities about that influencer.
So, but you're asking though if everyone was to sit down and come to a conclusion that the influencer would have to change his opinion or to a different topic and ask his followers to follow him to that.
It's very important
to the different thing,
but
which is possible.
Yeah, but it is possible. But it's very important to look at the issue because everyone on the left morally wants to get rid of racism. No, this is a leftist problem. What they don't understand is that everyone on the right also agrees that racism is bad. This is what the whole movement is for. So there's a middle ground on the subject matter. So if David Goggins was against racism and he came to the switch that he was for racism, it's very topic oriented because this wouldn't work necessarily for abortion if they didn't agree. The approach could still work if they both agreed on the section of abortion. When we talk about racism, we're actually talking about a moral truth. We're talking about we're not talking about an unmoral truth, which I think is very important. I think everyone universally agrees racism is bad.
Okay.
So when you have an influencer, because Barack Obama. If you look at the people who follow Barack Obama, everyone on the right is saying that the right is racist.
Everyone on the left is saying the right is racist.
Yeah, everyone who follows Barack Obama is saying everyone on the right is racist. So
I don't also know if that just kind of sounds like it's generalizing. So I'm sure there's a lot of right people that Obama was actually a great president. I'm a Republican, but I thought he did some good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying 100% of the people are going to change, but if we want to change the direction that we're headed in, we need to have this unity on the leadership as far as racism, so this can happen. Because you have to think of it. When David Goggins says to me that abortion, I'm not saying that not everyone's going to be like, yep, David Goggins, he's the truth. That's not how I morally make decisions. Some people do. And this is what I'm saying, but some people do. But let's just put that under the rug. If we're assuming that the person under the influence is morally taking their opinions and taking it into their own beliefs. When the influencer is talking about the right is not racist, and this is really the heart of the matter. The right, the president right now on the right in the Republican Party, and the influencers on the right have to get into this position where they have to try to find this middle ground, saying, "Hey guys, we're not racist. We don't believe in racist." And Barack Obama on the other side will be like, "No, you are, because this, and this." And then we want to find this middle ground because we don't like the direction that the country's going. We don't like what these organizations are doing. We want this to end. The thing is, they want it to end too. This isn't, this isn't very blindly on like, no, we want abortion and we don't want abortion, because that's and that's a moral belief too, where there's very two strong moral beliefs on it. Everyone universally agrees racism is bad. It's just, but at the same time, that's what 2020. I
don't think some people do.
But I want to
95% of the people.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't agree with you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't agree with you that those are the incentives on the other, if you will, the other side, the people that are stoking the fires of these. I think those incentives are different.
I will agree with that. That's a possibility.
I think you're purifying them, and that's fine. It's good to give people the benefit of the doubt. I think there's some evidence, though, that those are not the correct incentives. So if we were to go into that discussion, the common ground, it would require that everybody goes in with 100% good intentions on wanting to achieve the solution to racism. Yeah. I don't think that everybody, on both sides, I don't think those intentions are pure.
I think that's possible. It's 100% possible. I truly believe most of the people on the right, especially LeBron James and Doc Rivers, for example, who are crying on camera because their people are getting shot, that's not orchestrated. They really feel that. They genuinely want their people to be safe.
Yeah. I think we also tie this into what we talked about earlier on this episode, is that we were talking about a lot of the black community saying that we need to burn the white folk and like take them out of their power. A lot of those people on, let's say, the left side, they're not looking to solve racism as of we can be equal and united. They want us, the white people, to be suppressed now. So I think the solution may be then we got to suppress the white people, so now we have the advantage, and then
the only option is civil war. Then. That's the only. That's
the big part of their.
Welcome to Marxism. No, I'm not kidding with you. This is exactly here's because you are right. You are right. You are right. You are right. That if this truly was about racism, as you are describing, as a unconscious preference for or against something or someone, then this would have more teeth. This would have more legs. What you're talking about?
I'd agree.
But the objective of the revolution is anybody? The revolution.
Yeah.
The objective of the revolution is revolution. And so therefore they will use racism. They will use income inequality. They will use gender inequality. They will use those things to say, again, because this is the formula, you're being oppressed and that's your oppressor. And the conversation to say, let's end racism is much different than, no, let's make it clear that I'm not the oppressor. Those are two different, two very, very different things. And because of that, and I because it's kind of an academic discussion, I didn't go down to this too much, but having a discussion about ending racism actually will be missing the point of what's really driving the things that we don't like that's happening to our country right now, as far as things being on fire for 100
I agree.
days.
I actually completely agree. The only interesting thing that would happen is that you're calling them at their own game, because their whole motive is that it's a racist issue. And
Marxist revolutions have failed before because the people have said, no, I don't buy it. I don't buy that this is my oppressor, and I don't buy that I'm being oppressed. But as long as you can say, but wait a second, what about Jim Crow? What about slavery? What about the 1960s? Why is there income inequality between whites and blacks? You're right. Racism is real. I'm being oppressed. You see, that's a much, much different, mental shift that you have to create within people, than simply ending racism.
Well, so I agree with that. The only way it would happen, in my view, is that if that was a true belief from the leader, the only way that the people who truly believe that, and we're talking about the victims of a Marxist movement, because there's a lot of people that are on the left. There's a lot of people on the left.
Everybody's a victim of the Marxist movement, by the way.
Even the Marxists.
No. The ones who are orchestrating it, that want revolution for revolution's sake, they will use the ones that they're calling oppressed to overthrow the quote unquote oppressors. And by the way, both of those parties are being played as pawns.
Yeah.
Both of them are victims of the Marxist revolution. This is why communism, and I don't mean USSR communism only, I mean Marxism, is so evil. It's about tearing things apart, about dividing things. Diabolo is comes from the Greek, meaning to divide, to separate, not to unite and bring together. And so Marxism, if you will, is a trick of the devil, in the sense that it is a tool to divide, to wedge between people socially, to wedge between two people in the same family, to wedge things apart, which feeds actually directly into any Fatima discussions that we want to have, solely because one of the promises of Our Lady was that if we do certain things individually, and if the church does certain things, communism and Marxism will end. If we don't, it'll spread throughout the world, and it will cause war, strife, suffering, and all of us are in for a major, major beating because of what has happened in the world. And that's kind of where we are now. I know you agree with me on this, but I honestly do think that putting those two people into a room, two sides, on the topic of racism, would be much, much less effective than everybody praying the rosary every day, because this actually would matter. And whereas this one, I think, would not matter. And I think even the people outside of the room would take advantage of that situation to move their cause forward. Some of the people in the room might also want that cause forward. I don't know, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say they don't, right? And so we're up against something supra evil, over the top of our political problems and our social problems. This is something that's here in the regular social problem strata: racism, issues on racism, even real oppression. The supra strategy is playing everybody off against each other. I'm reminded of that scene from Lord of the Rings when the ring is there in the Council of Elrond, and the reflections of everybody fighting, and the fire is getting there, and Frodo's feeling because Sauron's so excited because everybody's at each other's throat, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we're living right now.
No, it's true. That's
where we're living.
100% agree.
And so it's not a matter of being right or wrong. I mean, like you being right or you being wrong. Because I agree with everything that you're saying. And I think that what we're witnessing actually isn't about racism.
Well, yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree with you guys on that too.
Yeah.
To that extent. It's just if we were looking for solutions, I believe that's the best one. That's that, and when I say that, I mean that a political solution. If we were talking about if we took the devil out of this, and if we took a deep state Marxism out of this, and we truly believed on the left side wants to end racism and the right side wants to instill the Constitution, which is what the Civil War is going to be about. The right's going to defend the Constitution and their Christian beliefs, really, and the right's going to defend
Left.
and the left is going to defend their moral compass of the LGBT and the black oppression and the other ethnicity oppression, and that's what's going. That's going to be the driving conflict. But you are right in the sense of that's actually not the STEM issue, where it is a diabolical. It's actually a Marxist movement,
which is why I think I'm calling it an academic discussion, meaning like it's a hypothetical discussion, because I don't know that we can take the diabolical out of it, because if that is what's driving this, then sure, let's pretend he doesn't exist, and yes, that might work. But because
but fighting the war
he is driving, but because he is driving it, and that's the situation we're in, I wonder if there is a political solution. I think there's a supernatural solution. There's a spiritual solution. I wonder. I wonder, and I agree with you that we should try.
Yeah,
we should try.
That,
We should be reaching out across every table, every aisle, and being that evangelical message of peace to everybody on the whether it's politically, socially, next door neighbor, some next door neighbor.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. As I'm not spending a cent of my time trying to push this on anybody. This is just a pure hypothetical academic thing.
That's a great discussion too. Great table discussion.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to go down that road and intellectually try to really solve racism, because that's what we were doing. We were really trying to solve racism, which was a lot of fun. Whether we successfully did it or not, it was not fun.
No, you're absolutely right.
I think the issue of our debate was we were both fighting on two different causes. I guess you were saying is, I guess you, Dad, and Will were more looking at how to solve it in this modern day of what the actual issue is. And Jackson was saying if racism was the real issue, this would be a way to solve it.
Real quick, yes, and I was also arguing from the standpoint of, one, I don't think racism's solvable. I
don't think it's completely solvable.
Exactly.
I think it could be mitigated,
you can't it's not possible to eradicate.
And
then two, I completely agree with you on the idea that yes, we should try this, and it is definitely a good shot, but practically knowing humans and knowing the mind
and our modern day issues.
That I just don't think it's going to work. Not saying that
it's possible.
That's really my argument, is why I really don't think that that's going to work.
And I think
just like I don't think making everybody in the world Catholic by our own or Christian. Just like I think it's the same reason why America itself is not all Christian.
That's not what Jack was saying, though. He wasn't saying that there's going to be an inquisition and we're going to force a position on somebody.
I know that, but I'm talking about if everybody that was an influencer was like, I'm Christian now. Like, talk about like I'm really talking about evangelizing ideas. Is that I think it's a good shot, and then we should have these ecumenical councils and talk about this kind of stuff.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to work, because I don't think it's worked in the past on any issue.
So I agree with you, and I agree with you that there is a high percentage that it would not work, especially if the leaders really didn't truly care about it, because they're going to find something to throw that thing. It's going to be, they'll find something that wouldn't agree with. It really is. It's a utopian idea in the sense that if our issues were really the issues that the propaganda is saying our issues are, I think there is a solvable solution to it, and that's
if they were
real.
Yeah, I think there's a higher probability of them being solved with a political solution if those things that are being thrown at us as the political problems truly were simply political problems. Absolutely right.
Because
then there would be a political solution for a purely political problem.
Yes. Yeah.
I also disagree with that, because I don't think all political problems have political solutions. I have solutions in general.
Well, so I know what you're saying.
I just attempted solutions.
I agree.
I'm talking like the realism.
No, but I agree with you. But if something that is I'm saying I disagree with you on that, I guess, because if it's purely a political problem, in other words, it's not something that has political implications, but there's a bigger.
I agree
root
with
problem.
that.
If it's purely a political problem,
And third time.
third time's a charm. If it's purely a political problem, then I believe that there are most likely political solutions. Here's the thing about the real world. It's almost never
an isolated
purely a political problem.
But it's kind of funny. It's like the political solution is actually a sort of a utopian solution.
Well, which is why, politics are not pure.
Yeah.
There's no pure politics. There's no platonic form that we can recognize of politics.
Yeah.
What's going to hold it?
Well, there's a political solution right there.
exactly.
Mike has a solution for a mechanical solution.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. That I just don't think that. Yeah, because I really do think it's also a biological problem, other than just like a cultural problem. And I think
that is where I disagree.
Neurological,
and
not
even,
biological.
not even like
disagree with that.
Not. I think the root of it is a neurological problem. Not that it's an incurable neurological. Well, I kind of think that
having biases.
Yes. That's really my
having a preference or a predisposition that you're not even aware that you have is a proven neurological condition of the human mind.
Yes, and I'm also not. Hold on, real quick, and I'm also, just to clarify, I'm also not even saying that the solution between black versus white racism is unsolvable, because I think that actually is solvable. I think that
just like Italian versus Irish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that the concept of racism, which I believe also is really just tribalism, but specifically talking about one part of tribalism.
And you're using tribalism as a very
broad.
Well, you're using it in a very specific sense.
Yes.
You're not saying that there are white tribes and black tribes.
No, I'm saying that you're different than me.
Yeah, you're talking about a similarity bias.
Exactly.
Which is
that's a good way to put it.
Similarity bias.
Yes, I think that there's the problem of similarity bias is unsolvable. You just can't eradicate it. You can eradicate.
I could remove your brain.
Yeah,
that's the only
lobotomize you.
I could remove your brain.
I guess my only thought on that is maybe, and this is just a maybe, I'm hypothetically guessing at this, is that I think it maybe could be maybe possibly to extremely mitigate it to a social level, where if we socially decided to not view each other based on our skin, and
but that's not what Will's saying. If I may.
Go ahead.
Remember going back to when I said I was in the caveman tribe and you came along, right? And then you were here for a while, right? Well, some people would say, well, see, there's a solution to the similarity bias. You just got to hang out with them more.
Which was
No.
Saying,
see, I still have a similarity bias, because if somebody new comes along, we're both going to be saying that person's different than us. It's just that the target of the similarity bias changes.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The brain still fires
really
that
what I'm
way.
trying to
I
argue.
know exactly what you're saying too. Hey, what the kind of I want to mix those, and we really haven't had a long enough time in racism to really have real progress. I mean, if we look at the 60s, it really was just a few generations ago. And kind of how, to the point where you said before 2020, you didn't believe racism was a problem, but now in 2020?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't. Okay, so I believed that. First of all, I do believe it's always been a problem. I believe that it hasn't been this Martin Luther King level problem. And that problem has existed, because we just said that it's been such a short time since racism has been a problem. I completely disagree, because I think it's been 10,000 plus years since racism has existed.
No, for
and
sure.
Culture has existed.
You mean racism in America?
No, I'm talking about where we've came together. I mean, when from the 60s and after Martin Luther, the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at when we, like in 2010, 2010 to 2020, racism really didn't exist. And, and I'm saying there's just such a short period of time where we haven't been tribal against different races.
I wouldn't say I disagree with that. I just think it wasn't a hot button issue.
It wasn't brought to the fore.
Yeah, because I definitely think there were racists in 2010.
So you believe that
100%.
we were still tribalism between blacks and whites?
I don't even just believe it. I think you can look at, I think there's probably a ton of statistics out there and people that you can go, oh yeah, dude, I knew like 5 racists at least in 2000.
Well, let me put it this way, and let's get away from the word tribalism, because I think that evokes images that are just wrong. I think there's the same similarity bias that existed between 2010 and 2018, 19.
Okay.
Exists today. It's just that now, again, going back to the diabolical part, they are being exploited and being magnified to where we think, oh my gosh, this has now become a giant issue and it's grown. I think it's been about the same. Maybe it's been better. Maybe it's better than it was in 1950s.
Yeah, which I think it probably was actually, but I just don't think it was eradicated.
But it wasn't,
or even so mitigated that nobody was talking about it. Because I think people have been talking about racism since literally forever. I think since humans were different, we've been talking about this.
It's ancient.
But that's my point. Is it's in our biology. So it's not
in our it's in our neurology. It's in our neurology.
Yeah, that's what
our brains.
It's in our
our brains,
actual body.
It's in our brain. It's in our brains. Our brains perceive things in certain ways, and they make snap judgments for efficiency's sake because we can't consciously process every input that we experience.
The only thing is that I don't believe
Come to my workshop.
Yeah. Well, real quick, I want to go back to that in a second, but what I'm saying is that you're not born with that. I don't think you're born with that.
You are born with that bias. You're not born with the bias
mechanism, but not the tribal.
Exactly. Well, you're born with the bias mechanism, not the target of the similarity.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the cultural input.
I've been saying that the whole time, though.
That's exactly what we're saying.
Because I've been saying that's not specifically about black people versus white people. It could be about long ears, or it could be like
left-handed versus right-handed.
It could be like in Rick and Morty, where it's the pointy nipples versus the round nipples.
100%.
It doesn't matter.
No, we agree. 100%.
I just think people understand that because Rick and Morty's a big show.
100% agree with that. I'm saying, how do you change that? And
I just don't think that's my point. It's in the brain.
I think it's a pointy and a round. It's just like the caveman situation. We hang out with each other enough that our differences. We see the similarities more than we see the differences,
and then
we become sane.
Which is, I think, is what was happening between the civil rights movement in 2008.
The new enemy actually solidifies the
aliens. This is really what I'm saying is that I completely agree with you on all of that. It's just that there will always be the next thing that come along that will divide.
Different.
The next thing. I agree. Different. I'm not saying there will never be biases, but that's all
I've been arguing.
And what I'm arguing is I believe we can unhinge the racist bias.
I think yes. I agree with you on that. Yes, but I don't.
History has shown that might happen. It will most likely happen if we take the Irish Italian thing. It will happen organically, which means that people will just start saying no to their mother and father.
I know a lot of good Italians,
and they're just gonna do it, and there's gonna be a couple generations of women.
But it won't be a
political. There won't be a meeting.
Yes.
It'll just be an organic thing that happens.
But that meeting can help. Could it help, though?
Yes, absolutely.
It will help. It can,
absolutely. It's just not the solution.
It's just not the solution. That's the entire argument.
Well, then why don't we call it? Why don't we call that? I think that one's in the vault. Let's put that one in the vault.
Yeah, I think that was a good ending for it.
Right there.
My chest is tight as heck.
We'll put that one in the vault. And it has been actually. We're almost at the time where our video SIM card is going to start dying. In a little while. So, I think that was a really good talk. And again, most of the folks around here, most of the folks that have known the Manhires are folks that suggested that we do something like this podcast, because they said, hey, what you guys talk around the dinner table after dinner is really, really interesting stuff, and this is exactly what we do. And this just happens to be with mics.
Yes.
And so this you're getting a window into the Manhire table conversation on any given night when we happen to all be sitting around at the same table. Now it's just recorded.
Yep.
So this tends to be how it goes, and then we go to bed when we're tired.
Yeah, someone else go to the bathroom, or my back hurts and I'm going to bed. Yeah.
So let's that was a good show.
Oh, it's okay.
And I do want to do a Fatima one, especially because of the movie. I do think the warning is going to be something that people should know about and be aware of between now and 2 to 2.5 years from now. That's my guess. And it's going to happen. And if you're interested in what's the warning, well, stay tuned. We'll do something special on that. But you want to have any final? I want to give anybody a final chance to say anything they want to say before we wrap up.
Really.
Pray the Rosary.
Yeah,
been doing it for a while. It's having great effects with it. I've actually been detached from politics. I was really heavily into it when we started this about a week and a half ago. Been completely kind of losing taste for it. It's been bringing me a lot of peace, and it's been I've been growing as a person doing it, so highly recommend it.
I think that's an indication that our obsession with politics as a nation, not our interest in it, but our obsession with it, can be toxic. And so therefore, it's okay to know what's going on, and you should, but detach in the sense that it's not getting inside of you.
It's okay to step away.
It's okay to step
Carry your
away.
opinions in a basket.
Yeah. And anybody else? Final thoughts?
That's about it.
All right. Well, thanks for Hannah.
Yeah, I got to pee. That's about it.
All right. Well, we'll end it on that then. So thanks everybody for listening to the show today. We'll see you next time. I'm Dad.
Jeff.
Will.
And Mike.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.